Omaha stuff at the AAA team store. Go and buy all of that.
Yep. Then you could just be in Omaha for the remainder of the 2 weeks and then for the rest of the year as well. So welcome in. Happy Friday. Should be a fun show as we get you ready for the weekend. Super Regional Friday. We are nearing the College World Series 1 week from today. 1 week from today, we will have first pitch at the Chuck downtown. Maybe it includes Tennessee. Maybe it doesn't. I assume they play on that first day, the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. They get a tough one this weekend with Notre Dame. We'll go through all of the super regionals, and then we'll sort of run through those and get you ready for the weekend too. We have an NBA Finals game tonight.
And finally, we do, Connor. We sure do.
And then no more for the weekend. So usually we have to do our weekend predictions like sort of 2 at a time. Like, what's it going to look like on Monday? We only have one game this weekend because there's a huge travel break in between as they head back to Golden State after tonight. It's a huge one, of course, for both teams, but certainly for Golden State. Maybe a Draymond revenge game or something like that. I don't know. Are you predicting he gets ejected then? Just he takes out his vengeance? Here's the thing that people have sort of failed to realize in the whole, or maybe they haven't failed to realize it, and it's becoming more obvious now. Obviously, Draymond has been up and down quite a bit. I mean, he is, first of all, never been a terribly gifted offensive player.
That is correct. Yes.
First of all. Second of all, he's declined quite a bit on that end. I'm not saying what you saw the other night is just going to be Draymond now, but I mean that deserves to be thrown into the conversation. I don't know that we should have like totally huge expectations for him, especially on the offensive side of the basketball. He is going to affect the game in ways that Draymond can affect the game.
Boston's size might be a problem for him.
He's going to also affect the podcast market the way he wants to affect that as well. So
Colin Cowherd, West Coast guy, Draymond Green.
That is tonight.
More relaxed.
We'll go through the super regionals and go through some sort of superlatives on that. On the show today, so Oklahoma softball, they finish off a national championship last night. Not totally unexpected, but we'll get into the actual historical significance of it. And talk a little Oklahoma in general. We'll talk some football as well. Tyler McComas, he joined the show maybe on the first day that we had this show. Buddy of mine, he's a sports talk radio host in Oklahoma City now. So we'll talk softball with him as they finish off a 59-3 season last night with some incredible historical significance. Brian Munson, Brian Christopherson, Steven Sipple, He's trying to rebrand himself.
The rebrand.
Steven Sipple. They will all join the show today. The lineup is powered by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. But, okay, so on Oklahoma last night, let me just fire off some stats at you to start things off.
Love this.
So, Jocelyn out, they go 59-3, and we'll open up the discussion on can you put them in the conversation as really the greatest team that we've ever seen in any sport. Certainly at the collegiate level, they belong in that conversation. So we want to open that up for you guys, and you can get in contact with the show all the ways you usually do at 402-951-1620. You can call or text that number, Twitter at Happer Show, at Connor Happer, at producer_Josh, email, all that stuff. So Jocelyn Al is probably going to go down as the greatest player in the history of the sport. Not hyperbole. That's a real thing. I, by the way, love what they did with her last night. She's a designated hitter. They put her out there in the field with a couple outs to go in the game. She makes a routine fly ball catch, and then they pull her
so that she can get a little.
Yeah.
That's very good. Very well done.
That's a good move. And she deserved it. She's going to be one of the most decorated and best players that's ever played the sport. She set the career NCAA home run record that's baseball and softball. 122 home runs in 4 seasons of softball. 122 home runs. That's not bad. From a team perspective, they outscored their opponents this year by the count of 579-65. 59-3, and their run differential, I don't want to do the math, 579 is over plus 500. Plus 514, actually, now that I'm doing the math in my head. that would be an average score per game of a little over 9.2 to just a shade over 1. So basically they won every game this year by an average score of 9-1.
Did you go through their schedule? How many run rule games did they have?
I did.
You did? Okay.
They won 36 games by run rule.
And there is not a run rule in the finals.
Correct.
Game 1, they would have run ruled Texas.
Correct.
So you can add one more technically.
So if you don't have that, and they lost to UCLA,
which they avenged.
In the
Texas wasn't avenged.
They lost that game 7-3. If you don't include that game, it's just basically their worst performance of the year. They allow less than a run a game in the differential category. So there's so many 10-0, 14-0, 15-0, 16-0 on the schedule, and they all ended over 5 innings. Just absolutely dominant stuff. Their team ERA. Would you like to guess their team ERA for the entire year? This is over. They only had probably 4 or 5 players that went into the circle, mostly by Jordy Ball, Papillion Zone, Jordy Ball.
Yeah, congratulations.
And Hope Troutwine. So those two kind of split the duties on the mound.
That's a great name.
Would you like to guess their team ERA?
Team ERA. They allowed on average let's call it 1 run a game.
Yeah.
0.75.
Yeah, it's a good guess. It's slightly over 1, a hair over 1, 1.05.
Okay.
For an entire season, we're talking 63 games.
Wow.
Which is, pretty difficult to imagine.
Yeah. And no, it's literally very difficult to imagine.
You have some of the greatest closers of all time. They'll put together a stretch where they go, an entire season, 50 some appearances, and they'll be right in that range, which is still a totally dominant season. Marlins as a team.
Marlins pitcher Sandy Alcantara is blowing people away, and his ERA is 1.5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic ERA. There's nothing wrong with a 1.5 ERA. 1.05 as a team throughout the entire season. That is, and so when we have Tyler on here in just a little bit, I'm going to ask him, and he's been into the softball part of it too. He's not just a guy from Oklahoma who's hey, let's just talk softball. No, he's been doing a Oklahoma softball podcast the entire year. I wanted to give this credit and how ridiculous it was. So one of the questions we'll ask him is, what's your favorite stat?
Ooh.
What's your favorite stat about this team? And what is the most sort of amazing thing that they did? It's basically all of it is hard to believe. When you add up the team stuff, the record is already its own thing. But you add in some of the Jocelyn Allo stuff and the run differential, the ERA that I just went through. That's the bulk stuff. It is it's pretty shocking stuff on the softball side of things. So let's open this up a little bit. In my opinion, and this has been talked about, this has sort of been coming on for a long time, and Oklahoma's sort of, I don't know, they can represent kind of catalyst for the sport to sort of gain popularity, which is funny, right? Because oftentimes we talk about wanting competitive, competitive finals, competitive championships, stuff like that. But I feel like this Oklahoma team and their dominance that they've shown, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that they were going to win the national championship. This has drawn more eyes and ears to the situation than anything else could have in this. Just my opinion. But you look at college softball in general, and like I said, this has been sort of building for a long time, that, the sport is a fun watch. It's an easy watch. It's a short game. Everything happens very quickly, from the ground balls and the throws to first. I'm constantly amazed about how quick, they get the ball out of their glove or because it doesn't take long to get from home to first base. Everything's shorter, smaller, in a tight, compact area. The games are shorter. It's 7 innings, right? So it's from the aesthetic standpoint, it's just a good watch.
There's action on almost every play.
But this is another thing that I was thinking about. With this, and volleyball is often the sport that it's paired along with. College softball, college volleyball, those are both the pinnacles of the sport in general, where we're going to have the college baseball national championship here next week. And it'll still be in the background to Major League Baseball games that are going on. And of course, their playoffs that happen in October. This is as good as it gets for the sport of softball.
Yeah, like Olympic volleyball, Olympic softball.
It's good.
It's good, but it's not as big as this.
It's great play, but we're talking about at the national level and what gets more attention,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that, and I think, football has a lot to do with this. You root for sort of your university, you root for the football team you root for. It's like, oh, I root for Oklahoma football. I guess they're wearing the same colors and they're wearing that OU on the sides of their helmet, just like the football team is. I can enjoy that as well. Right. Exactly. So it's the pinnacle of the sport. This is as much attention as it gets. So you look at a person like Jocelyn Allo last night, and you're like, and she gets the send off at the end, and this is the peak of her. This is the peak of her popularity. Whatever she does on the Olympic circuit, or whatever happens after this, it won't be as sort of notable as it is right now. And I think there's real value in that, because people want to watch the most important thing possible.
Literal value. What's her NIL?
That's a good question. I wonder if she has any.
Yeah, like some of the volleyball players had like Borsheim's NIL deals, so it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that someone in Norman would be like, I want Jocelyn Allo on my advertising.
Oklahoma Slugger Jocelyn Allo signs an NIL deal with local car dealership. It's always the car dealership.
They love to advertise, and we love them advertising right here on 1620 The Zone.
That was in April. I wonder if she's got any more since then. This isn't the first NIL deal that Allo has received this season. Oklahoma co-branded NIL products with Allo for her career home run achievement back in March.
Okay.
So there's more stuff there. Yeah, but this is, I think, in my opinion, it's just another reason why people sort of are starting to gravitate. Like, I don't want to overdo it and say, yeah, well, this is huge. This is the new thing that's, sweeping the nation or whatever. This is going to be a big deal, and it's going to overtake this, and this soon. I think it all sort of exists at the same time, but there's no doubt about it. Women's sports in general, but especially I single out softball and volleyball because those are unique, and you don't have them go sort of to the next level, and there's nothing that's sort of important afterwards. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like there's stakes. It's sort of how college football used to feel, where it almost feels like sort of a vehicle for players to get to the NFL, or a mode for the players to get to the NFL. Now it's, this is sort of like college athletics in its purest form. And I think that's even another sort of crowd that you can attract and bring attention to. So
it does good ratings. Like,
I would think
it'll be a factor in, like, I don't think anyone's going to steal it from ESPN, because that's a good product for ESPN and they have a lot of places to put it, but it does good numbers. It does about 1 million.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's going to keep growing. It'll keep going over the next, decade or whatever it might be. But teams like this, I think we'll look back and say, teams like this, man, this is really, really cool. And that's sort of what got me interested in the sport. And that's sort of what it takes to get an entire sport, an entire thing off the ground. We get this on the text line. By the way, you can text on the show, 402-951-1620. It's not that hard. Just type it in your phone like you would if you're calling us, but you could text us. Brian, Oklahoma would have run-rolled Texas last night as well. Texas got a few in the 7th. Yeah, they would have, but there's no run rule in the final.
Yeah, last I saw it was like 5-5, and then I woke up this morning and checked the score. I was like, oh, that escalated.
Yep. They can avalanche on you pretty quick. So that, I'm looking forward to talking with Tyler about it so he can add some more sort of context to the fun, basically, that it has been this year, and how it sort of culminated from them last night, and look, the sort of pressure of going through an entire. We'll be talking about this a lot next week, getting ready for the College World Series if Tennessee gets through the weekend, which is the pressure of making it every step of the way knowing that you're the best team, knowing that your ultimate goal is, hey, if we don't win the national championship this season, it's probably going to feel like it was a little empty at the end of it. I mean, you got to deal with that the entire way. So that was Oklahoma finishing that off yesterday. So we'll talk to Tyler here in just a few minutes to talk some softball, and then we'll touch on football with him. What, by the way, why is there this sort of groundswell right now for people saying, "Oh, this Oklahoma-Nebraska game"? I don't know. You never know. People sort of down on Oklahoma right now, or at least there's some kind of question about them for the first time in a little bit with a new coach. And then, of course, we've talked all offseason about people being high on Nebraska right now.
Should probably talk to him about baseball too.
They're in a super regional.
Yeah, against Virginia Tech.
What? Okay, so personally, I'm sort of conflicted on that because I think we'll get and we'll talk about this later, but I think we'll get the fair amount of national seeds into Omaha next week. And if I'm looking at it, I think Oklahoma has one of the best opportunities to be one of those teams who's not a national seed to get to Omaha next week. But I really like Virginia Tech.
I want that Happer show bump.
Yeah, I know.
To get someone to Omaha.
I want that to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have the connection with them.
Are they our only team left? I think they are.
That
we had on the show. I know a lot of people who declined our invite didn't even get out of the regional. Just saying. When Josh Odson emails you, you best answer.
Yeah. I mean, TCU got beat by Texas A&M.
Yeah. It's not like we had that many people.
Right. Yeah. The idea initially was a lot bigger in our heads. So the super regional matchups this weekend, you're right. Oklahoma is in one of them. I could deal with UConn here as well. I think they would be a
fun dog to root for, almost quite literally.
You like a good balance. That's another sort of question of the day. How do you like your College World Series? I think for me, I want to have the best team. I want to have a group of the best teams so we can have a good competitive sort of Final Four and then, of course, final at the end. But give me some underdogs. Absolutely. Yeah, give me a UConn in here. I don't know that I would call Ole Miss an underdog. I don't know that I would call Arkansas an underdog.
Southern Miss is a national seed, but they would be considered an underdog if they got here.
If Southern Miss makes it, I think that would be the team that Omaha would latch on to. Maybe obviously there's East Carolina because they would have beaten Texas to get here. And that's always going to give you a little bump here in our
beat
fine
Texas.
town.
I like you.
Exactly. That'll always be really, really nice. So those two, and it's new blood, sort of new blood. I mean, East Carolina's been to, I think, 5 or 6 super regionals. They haven't got out of it. So I think people would sort of latch on to them. Southern Miss is another one. I think they were here a decade ago, maybe the first year of TD or one of the last years of Rosenblatt, but it's been a long time now. They've been here before, but it's sort of new blood. You always like to see them. And then your normal blue bloods, Tennessee. I think Texas A&M is really rolling right now. It could be a fun field and a good mix of teams, and that's usually how I like my College World Series anyway. So plenty of that throughout the show today. We'll check in on Live Golf again for some reason.
This is probably the last time. Maybe Monday a little recap, and then it'll be like USFL.
I'm just here for the dumb stuff at this point. Like, I just keep showing me that you're a disaster, and I'll keep talking about it.
Hey, Greg, I got ejected from your press conference. Oh, really? I didn't know. You were staring at me the whole time, bruh.
Photo of him in the background is just, I mean, it's absolute gold. You can't make it up. And then, of course, we'll talk college football, Nebraska football with really all of our guests today, including Brian Munson at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. But coming back, we will talk to Tyler McComas. He's with 94.7 The Ref in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma softball finishes off a national title. Football, where are they at right now? What's the feeling like? And baseball in a super regional. It's the year of Oklahoma, maybe. I sort of hope not.
Yeah, I don't want that.
But we'll talk with Tyler next here on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Happy Friday. Connor Happer, Josh Odson with you out at Werner Park. Baseball tonight between the Storm Chasers and the Lehigh Valley IronPigs, and all weekend I'm very excited for the different jerseys tomorrow as they turn into the Corn Chasers, the Corn jerseys as they celebrate corn. And corn is always worth celebrating, Josh.
Absolutely. You will get no argument from me on that.
The Super Big 12 is potentially imminent here. Houston, Cincinnati, UCF are going to pay the buyout from the AAC. We sort of knew that was going to happen. The money is $18 million a piece to split off with their own conference, and they'll head to the Big 12 starting next summer. So next fall we may have a Super Big 12, and a team that has a lot to do with that is Oklahoma. Let's talk some Oklahoma with our good friend Tyler McComas out of OKC. Tyler, hello. How are you?
Fantastic. Huge national championship win last night. But come on, it took a girl from Nebraska for OU to win a national championship. Isn't that the real story today?
That's right. Mm-hmm. What a connection. Jordy Ball. Yeah. We've been rooting for them all season for that. But this is what we were talking about. A team like that can really sort of, galvanize an entire sport. And I think the sport has grown a ton in popularity. We were just talking about it's an easy watch. It's fun. It's fast. It's sort of exciting. And even though Oklahoma sort of dominated their way, steamrolled their way to a national title, I think, the sport will sort of profit off of that for a long time.
Yeah, I think so. One of the more incredible things this year is, look, I still love collegiate sports. College football is still my number one. It's always going to be. But the thought around here is NIL has changed everything and not for the better. It's just a different mentality. Collegiate sports just isn't what it once was. It's more of a business now than anything. And NIL has affected college football. It's affected college basketball. It's seemingly affected every single collegiate sport except for college softball. This team had the expectation of national championship or bust. Anything less than a national championship is a disappointment. Anything less than being considered one of the greatest teams of all time is a disappointment. Those are pretty lofty expectations, So they had all the pressure surrounding them all year long. And then after every single home game, guys, they'd be out there signing autographs for an hour or an hour and a half after the game. It seems as if college softball is the one sport where NIL hasn't really affected things for the negative. And yeah, I think a team like this for OU, there's over 12,000 people last night for that softball game in OKC. I think that they did a lot to help grow the game because it seems like college softball is really on the upswing here, especially in the past 5 years.
Well, it's pure. This is what we were just talking about. For those who are sort of losing or, who long for the ways that college athletics used to be where, I don't know, you can make up whatever hyperbole you want about it, play for the love of the game. But you mentioned it. College football has now sort of become a business. This is, softball. I think volleyball is probably included here as well for us locally since Nebraska has a great volleyball team. And Creighton and really everybody around here, Nebraska is sort of a volleyball hotbed. But it's sort of pure, and I think that attracts another set of people as well.
Yeah, it's incredible. It'll be in the third inning, and the entire team comes out of the dugout and leads like a Boomer Sooner chant with the entire stadium. Now, some people might roll their eyes at that, but could you imagine the entire Nebraska defensive line standing up and yelling, "Go Big Red!" in the second quarter? It's you just see things during this game that you don't see in any other sport out there. It's cool, man. And that's the exact word, pure. Pure is the perfect word to describe what college softball is right now.
Okay, so this is the question that I was most excited to ask you. You've been following this team closely all year. What is the stat that is your favorite stat about the dominance of this team, or exemplifies that the most? What's your favorite stat you like to give people to show that Oklahoma was the greatest, potentially the greatest collegiate athletics team we've ever seen?
Oh my gosh, you definitely put me on the spot on that one.
I did.
Here's the thing, man, is name me a stat. and they have it. Do you want Women's College World Series, most runs scored in a tournament? Okay, I can give you that one. Do you want the most lopsided Women's College World Series championship game? Well, they did that against Texas 16-1. Do you want the most lopsided Women's College World Series game that wasn't a championship game? That was 15-0 over UCLA. Like, literally everything. I mean, Jocelyn Allo hit over 100 home runs in her career. I'll give you one. How about this? I'll go with Jocelyn Allo because she's such a big name. And home run queen in college softball, and people immediately think of her as a home run hitter. And rightfully so. I think that that's totally fair. But she hit over 500 this year. I think she ended up with like a 510 average. Are you kidding me? She wasn't just a home run hitter. She was a pure hitter. And this team only lost 3 times all year long. And the 3 times they lost were the three of the Final Four teams in the championship series this year. I mean, there's just too many to list. But name me a stat. Just throw out any stat, and I guarantee you this OU softball team holds that record. It's stupid, man. I've never seen anything like it.
We just sort of broke it down at like the major level. 59-3 is impressive in and of itself. But then you go into like the run differential. Their run differential was over, plus 514, I think. They outscored opponents 579-65. Their ERA was their team ERA was just a shade over 1 for the entire year. It's like all this stuff is just unthinkable.
It is. And by the way, their team ERA was just a shade over 1. Hope Troutwine led all of college softball in ERA. And that was supposed to be their weakness coming into the year. They were having to replace their 1 and 2 pitchers. So they got a transfer from North Texas, maybe the most unbelievable freshman phenom we've ever seen out of the state of Nebraska. And the big question mark, the big weakness, was probably the best staff in all of the country this year. Go figure.
Yep. When it rains, it pours if you're playing Oklahoma softball this year. Well, it was a lot of fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to follow, and I think it's going to be really good for the sport. And you've been covering it as close as anybody this year. So nice job to you and of course them down there as well. We're looking forward. We're sort of fast forwarding as we do here in the state. And I'm sure you do in yours as well. Well, I guess you have some baseball left. We'll get there at some point during this interview as well. But let's go to football real quick. What's the vibe right now? Why does it seem, because every time somebody brings up Nebraska, Oklahoma this year, it seems like they're giving Nebraska a little better shot than I sort of expected. I think that sort of comes from nationally. There's a little buzz about Nebraska right now, at least being better than some people expect. And maybe the thought on Oklahoma is you sort of better get them right now in the early stages of a new coach. I guess where are things at and what's the vibe down there with OU football right now?
So 2 weeks ago, I ranked my 3 toughest games for OU this year. That's like the king of all off-season topics in a college football market. I put the Nebraska game as the second toughest game of the season. And I thought I was going to get a little pushback from that. I got no pushback whatsoever, guys, on that. I had the Texas game number 1 just because that's just such an interesting game all in itself. Texas can be really bad. OU can be really good. But if you look at the past results here, OU always has to claw and find a way to win the game. But I think where the Nebraska game sits on the schedule for OU so early in the year, and everything that is going to be at stake for Nebraska. Like the thought, at least for me, and I think the lot a little bit here is, all right, if Nebraska's going to have a good season, if they're going to turn this around under Scott Frost, it kind of feels like here that, I don't know if this is Custer's last stand, but this can really propel Nebraska's season for the better if they're able to win that game. So we're under the assumption, and I'm definitely under the assumption that whatever Nebraska's best shot is, whatever that looks like, OU's going to get it in week 3. Now, again, I have it as the second toughest game on the schedule. Do I think Nebraska is going to be the second best team that OU plays? No, I think Baylor will be better. I think Oklahoma State will be better. I might be able to point to, 3 or 4 teams that I think eventually be better. But where it sits on the schedule, what I think that you're going to get from Nebraska that day, I see it as an incredibly difficult game. I will tell you this. I made another bold prediction on this game last week. OU fans, much like Nebraska fans, travel extremely well to road games. Ohio State in 2017, Buckeye fans were saying, oh, my God, we've never seen a visiting fan base travel like this to Columbus. They brought a ton of people to Knoxville, Tennessee back in 2015. In my lifetime, I feel like this is going to be the largest turnout of OU fans at a road game that we've ever seen. The excitement to go back to Lincoln, how big this game is, the excitement of the Brent Venables era. I'm sure you guys have taken note of that there. It's going to be a tough ticket. And I'm not saying that 20,000 OU fans are going to be in the stadium, but there's going to be a lot of people that at least go to Lincoln while the game is going on. But a long answer to your short question, we're all viewing this Nebraska game as really tough. And the joke around here is, well, you might win, but you're only going to win by single digits. That's how Nebraska rolls. I mean, we're all expecting a close game.
It's crazy to see. I mean, just from one year over the other. I mean, Oklahoma goes in, and it's in Norman last year. Oklahoma goes in as I believe they closed at like a 22.5 point favorite. And right now we're looking at about a 4.5 point favorite. And I don't think, like, I wouldn't be able to convince you that Nebraska as a team is going to be a whole lot better than it was last year. So there's got to be a gap in there somewhere. Obviously, the location sort of changes. But, I mean, Oklahoma, nationally, the vibe on Oklahoma is not – the buzz on them is not quite where it was a year ago.
Yeah. I mean, OU's just such a huge unknown. I think Nebraska, right? I mean, new offensive coordinator, correct? New quarterback with Casey Thompson. I mean, I think both teams kind of going into this year are, a little bit of an unknown. I'll tell you this, and as it stands today, I would pick OU to win, but I mean, I'm talking about a really close game here. The one X factor or the one thing that could really change that is with new offensive coordinator Jeff Levy. They're going to go fast. And I know that OU's been known as an up-tempo offense that, likes to go and all tempo, and that's somewhat true, but they are going to operate as fast as they have since that national championship game in 2008. When I tell you that they're going to go fast, they're going to go really fast. And I think that could be tough for a Nebraska defense because it's going to be the third game of the season. And you guys know you can't really replicate that in practice. I mean, you can do your best to get those looks, but you don't really know what it looks like until you get in the game. Again, I think it's going to be an incredibly close game, but we'll see how Nebraska handles that tempo. If Nebraska can't handle that tempo, it'll be interesting to see if maybe this turns into a high-scoring game because I think it's going to be, probably similar to a low-scoring game like it was last year.
Yeah, super intriguing. We're going to break this down a million different ways before we get here, but obviously that is a really exciting day for both fan bases and both teams for sure. Tyler McComas, 94.7 The Ref in Oklahoma City, is with us here in the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Okay, still got some more. I mean, you got baseball on tap this weekend. It's the year of Oklahoma, it feels like. Oklahoma's been a sneaky pick in baseball to make it up here to Omaha. They have a good upstart Virginia Tech this weekend in the Super Regional. They've been fantastic all year. How about Oklahoma baseball giving it a run?
Yeah, they've struggled at times this year. They won the Big 12 tournament, which, man, the Big 12 tournament wasn't in Oklahoma City, wasn't in Bricktown for the first time in several years. Like my heyday of growing up, Nebraska's bringing a ton of fans out there, and they won a couple of those tournaments. It was in Arlington this year. God, those were the days, man. But yeah, they got really hot late in the year. Like 2 weeks before they won the Big 12 tournament, they got beat 18-0 by Wichita State. So it's been kind of a roller coaster ride. When it's been good, it's been good. When it's been bad, it's been really bad. But they entered into that regional at Florida really hot and found a way to win. So are they up and down a better team than Virginia Tech in the Super Regional? No, I don't think anyone would argue that. But we all know how baseball works. they are the hot team right now, and I think that I think Kendall Rogers picked them to go to the championship series in Omaha, which is pretty fascinating. So can OU make it to Omaha with the way that they're playing? Yeah, absolutely, because they're getting really good starting pitching, and they've got Peyton Graham right now, the shortstop. He looks like one of the best players in college baseball. They're just hot right now. They're a team that's hot and they're trendy. And if they get it done this weekend in Blacksburg, who knows what could happen in Omaha. It's interesting though that just baseball doesn't hit here, man. Softball is a huge deal. Football obviously is a huge deal. And I don't know how it is in Lincoln, but college baseball just for whatever reason does not move the needle. And this is really the first time all year long that it feels like people are actually paying attention to college baseball. It's shifted over the past decade for sure.
Yeah, interesting. That's really interesting. Tyler, okay, one more for you. So we were just talking about it as we were leading you in there. Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, they're joining the Big 12 officially next summer. We kind of thought that was going to be the way. What's the latest on Oklahoma and the move to the SEC and the timing of the whole thing?
There is like no word that comes out at all. I mean, OU and Texas for that matter, it's hard to get information out. I once thought that there is no way OU is going to play in the same conference as Houston and UCF and Cincinnati and BYU. As it stands today, I think that that's going to happen. Now, I guess anything can change. I mean, we are officially in the off season, and no one had any inkling of that SEC news that was going to drop about a year ago. But I don't get the feel that it's super imminent. This is going to be OU's last year in the conference. Again, anything can happen, and maybe some things are working and happening behind the scenes that none of us know about. But if I had to guess, I think that there's a decent chance, and I never would have thought this 6 months ago. I think there's a decent chance that they stay throughout the entirety of the contract. I think that there's a real chance here that you could see OU play a road game next year at BYU, or in 2023 in BYU, or play a home game against Cincinnati. If I'm having to bet on it, I'm going to guess that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, well, like you said, it is the off season. Things tend to move around this point of the year. We'll see what happens, but man, that would be interesting. The Super Big 12 next year, where Oklahoma, their penance for leaving, is playing a road game at UCF at some point over the next couple years. Tyler, great stuff, man. We appreciate it as always. I want to talk a couple more times probably throughout the summer, and then of course leading up to the big game in Lincoln. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, I know you guys are up against the break. I'm just curious real quick, because OU fans hate 11 a.m. kickoffs. So mad about the 11 a.m. kick last year in Norman that the AD put out a statement about it. And fans are really mad about 11 a.m. in Lincoln. Do Nebraska fans care about that, or is that not as big of a deal?
It used to be, okay, a decade ago, it would have been, it's a huge deal. But we're used to it now. Nebraska is sort of, they've accepted that they're in the Big Ten, even though there was the whole dust up, last year and during the COVID year. Like, we're in the Big Ten. This is sort of the way it is. You sort of knew that game was going to be at 11 because it's the primetime game for Fox. Fox and the Big Ten go together. So I don't know if they like it, but definitely more accepting of it than Oklahoma seems to be.
Well, yeah, it's fighting words around here, man.
Appreciate it, Tyler.
Yeah, you bet.
That's Tyler McComas of 94.7 The Ref in Oklahoma City. Yeah, I told you, Josh.
They are triggered by an 11 a.m. kickoff.
That Joe Castiglione, when he was in he had a moment and he decided that he was just going to put out a bunch of statements. One of them was about Nebraska trying to get out of the game, and then the other one, when the game time came out, I was like, we don't like this, and we hate Fox and all this stuff. And then, by the way, they were like, oh, yeah, we're leaving for the SEC as well in a couple of years.
Should we send them like a good mimosa recipe or a good Bloody Mary recipe? Do they just not know how to tailgate down there? Or...
I'm just saying, we have gotten used to, and maybe this is a bad.
Maybe it's a bad thing to get used to.
Maybe it's a bad thing for us because we have sort of accepted. Yes, the Big Ten has sold their soul to Fox. Fox can do whatever it wants to the conference in terms of times they play their game, what days they play their games on, and where and who plays against each other. They are calling all the shots. Look at the TV negotiations right now. Fox is in the TV negotiations for representing the Big Ten or partly representing the Big Ten in front of other networks. That's unheard of. That doesn't. So
they are our pimp.
The Big Ten has sold their soul to Fox, and they said, "Do with it what you please." And the Fox has said, "Okay, you take your 11 a.m. kickoffs, and this is how it goes."
It's good. It's a good thing. Trust us.
But we've stopped.
Maybe.
It's less stressful now that we don't have to fight it. We don't have to get mad about it anymore. It strikes me now, like when the game time comes out, you knew it was going to be 11 o'clock. You thought maybe there was a slight opportunity for it to be a night game, but you really knew in the back of your head, yeah, this is going to be an 11 a.m. game. So then when the game time comes out, you say, darn, instead of what the hell's going on here, right? And I think Oklahoma's still in the what the hell's going on here stage.
You listen to Big Red Overreaction after the game, and you're free for dinner Saturday night. You're good to go.
I'm so Big Ten now that I was pining for a 6 a.m. kickoff.
That's right. You were.
In Ireland.
You were the one.
I am Big Ten man. Connor Happer here for the Big Ten. Also here with the Omaha Storm Chasers at Werner Park. They will open their doors this evening and tomorrow and Sunday evening as well for baseball. And it's a great place to watch the game, and they'll be wearing different jerseys on Saturday night. We're at the Stormfront Team Store. We'll be here until 2. They open their doors at noon, so drop on by. We will come back, round up the hour. Brian Munson will join us here in a few. It's another big recruiting weekend. More up next on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. look at this weekend as well. The entire month of June, which is basically the recruiting month now for Nebraska football and really college football in general. Brian Munson up next on 1620 The Zone.
Toppings and lots of them, plus loads of mozzarella on top. Add any medium one-topping pizza, and you got my new spring feast. But you better hurry. Summer's right around the corner. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
Hey, Ryan, what do you get me for Father's Day?
Well, Dad, with the family owns Osted's Golf, it's easy to find the right gift. Hannah, what are you getting your dad?
I'm working on a coupon book for free hugs and kisses. Wouldn't that be wonderful, Dad?
Hannah, your papa can help you out. Rangefinder's up to $50 off. Golf balls on sale. Lots of great golf shirts your dad will love.
Since my allowance is 50 cents a week, I think I'll stick with the coupon.
Let Dad know you care. A gift from Osted's never disappoints.
Would you rather that your roof or siding last 5 years or 50 years? I'm Dan Thompson of Thompson & Thompson 3rd Generation. Products today last much longer. Gone are the days of just tear shingles off, nail shingles on. Whether it's impact resistant, high wind tolerance, or in the case of EuroShield, hail-proof rubber shingles, you can have great designer looks and durability. At Thompson & Thompson 3rd Generation, we don't just give you an estimate. We educate you and give you options. So you decide, 5 or 50. Click Thompson 3rd today and start enjoying your new roof or siding.
If you're passionate about coffee, you should consider a career at Host Coffee as a valued service technician to install, repair, and rebuild state-of-the-art commercial coffee, iced tea, espresso, juice, cappuccino machines, and water coolers. Apply today and join our team at hostcoffee.net/careers.
Gary Sharp here for Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, the original peanut butter whiskey. You know, excitement is in the air as the College Baseball Championship returns to Omaha. You can celebrate this year with Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. A little sweet, a little salty, a little savory, and it's unlike anything you've ever tasted before. It's the perfect celebration of the wild and wonderful in all of us. Screwball, the original peanut butter whiskey, available near you. Enjoy responsibly. Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Have you heard about HIMS? Apparently, they take the awkwardness out of treating ED, and the process is really straightforward.
HIMS? Yeah, my buddy gets his ED meds through them. Said their online process is much simpler than going to a doctor's office.
Oh, yeah. Their entire process is only a few steps, and they only ship ED meds from certified pharmacies in the U.S. that are 100% FDA approved. All you got to do is go to 4hims.com/radio. You just answer a few questions, select your treatment preferences, and fill out some health information. Then a healthcare provider reviews the info and determines which medication, if any, is right for you. If it's prescribed, it ships free right to your door.
I think I'm going to check these HIMS guys out.
And get this, the ED medication I was prescribed is 90% cheaper than Viagra and has the same active ingredient. I can finally satisfy my partner.
For a free online consultation, go to forhims.com/radio. That's FORHIMS.com/radio.
Searching for your next vehicle? Shop Woodhouse first. Over 1,000 pre-owned vehicles in stock and on our lots, with new trades arriving daily that you can explore on woodhouse.com. Plus, confidence comes standard when you purchase a pre-owned car, truck, or SUV from Woodhouse. With our multi-point inspection, transparent pricing, available add-on warranties, and financing options, purchasing a pre-owned vehicle has never been simpler. Experience the difference and drive away today confident and road-ready in your new vehicle from Woodhouse.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs.
All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Josh Hodson back with you at Werner Park. Baseball tonight and this weekend out
Baseball
here.
tonight's back?
No.
Oh.
Wait. Yeah, no. It's not back.
Okay.
I sort of didn't remember that it was gone, but
yeah, people forget.
Yeah, I definitely did forget. There's a whole channel for that now, which is
Yeah, but it's not as good.
No, it is. It's definitely as good. MLB Network,
As good as Baseball Tonight?
yes, it's better than Baseball Tonight.
There's just the show, not ESPN's
Baseball
coverage of
Tonight's
baseball.
half-hour coverage of baseball a week. Yes, I MLB Network is better than that.
I'm talking about Baseball Tonight in its prime.
Like Carl Ravitch.
Maybe even as far back as Peter Gammons.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm
No,
old.
I'm with you. I remember that show sort of fondly, but the MLB Network is good. You're not giving the
MLB Network is very good.
Thank you, Josh. We all miss Baseball Tonight around here. So there's Baseball Tonight. There's Baseball Tomorrow. There's Baseball Sunday. They didn't have shows that had those names. But let's talk some recruiting with Brian Munson of On 3. Brian, welcome. How are you?
Hey, I was just going to say, I missed, I know there's been some controversy around it, but Harold Reynolds was amazing with his analysis back in the day. So,
well, guess what? He's on MLB Network now. He's on MLB Network now.
I didn't even know that, honestly, and I missed his analysis. But some of the stuff on MLB Network, like one of the greatest spots ever, was them going through Chipper Jones, like Chipper Jones and what he looks for, like in an at bat, like how he breaks it down. One of the most just one of the greatest hitters I ever saw play the game in the first place. But then listening to him like articulate it and like what he's doing and what he's trying to do and taking away half of the plate and stuff like that, incredible. It's on YouTube somewhere. I go back every now and again and listen.
Oh, they do great breakdowns. Yes, I'm totally with you. And getting inside of the mind of those guys, especially a guy like Chipper, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, Munson, let's start before we.
Uh-oh. I may be on mute, guys.
We are back, if anybody else is there. All right. So let's just, so I think we had some technical difficulties there. If we can get Munson back on. There we have him. Sorry about that, Munson. I think we disconnected here briefly. Let's.
I was listening, I heard a click, and I go, uh-oh.
Yep.
The takes were too hot.
Usually not good. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it steady here this time. So we'll start with last weekend and how sort of the group of visitors that visited last weekend, and it's already been sort of fruitful for them. But how that will sort of carry on throughout the rest of the class and really, I think kind of set the tone for the summer. It was a big weekend for them last weekend. Now that we're a week away, can we put in context how big it really was?
Yeah, it was significant. I mean, Nebraska got their third in-state offensive lineman out of that weekend when Brock Knudsen committed on Sunday, announced on Monday. You brought in another mammoth offensive tackle in Bo Hewley, which kind of goes like straight into the category of like Caden Green, and then you're bringing in Lance Hurd this weekend from Monroe, Louisiana too. So you got those couple, three guys there. You got Amir Herring that I think there's been some speculation that Nebraska is quietly pulling to the front there. But I mean, I think there's another, I think right after we spoke on Friday, Jaden Doss committed.
Yep. And
Nebraska then hosted 4 wide receivers last weekend in Coleman and Miller and Joshua Manning and Barry Jackson. And I think things are looking really good for Amarian Miller. I will stay the course on Malachi Coleman and then at the Husker, that you're going to have to ride that one out with him though for a while. But I think that this group, 13 guys last weekend in total, is super interesting because Adonijah Green and Bo Hewley both committed to other schools. Nebraska does have a chance to flip both those guys. And yes, I am including Bo Hewley in that statement. And I think Omarion Miller ends up part of this class. Maverick Noonan was in there this weekend. Obviously, it was a big kind of local weekend too, with Maverick and Gunner and Brock all coming in, along with Malachi. So this was the weekend where Nebraska needed to make its mark. They need to draw a line in the sand and say, these guys here to get in and be the core of basically the 15 to 18 guys we plan on taking in the entire 2023 group. And we would be ecstatic if that would happen. You know, and there's 6 guys coming in this weekend, and you got another 13 the weekend of June 17th. So pretty crazy things happening right now. But I like where Nebraska is at, basically with what they did last weekend and the guys they brought in.
Yeah, and you're right. They get to kind of do it again this weekend. Some more local flavor. The official visits sort of being like gobbled up in this month of June. Let's go. I want to ask about June and just its sort of place in the recruiting calendar here in a second. But this weekend, what are the big names on tap, and what can Nebraska sort of how can they make a move with those guys?
Yeah, I like this weekend too. Nebraska brings in, like I said, Lance Hurd again is a mammoth offensive tackle from Monroe, Louisiana. Brian Applewhite. There's kind of a split there, recruiting geographical, to Louisiana, where everybody kind of says Mickey Joseph, that's his territory. Well, Applewhite got AJ Allen out there last year, so he's got some ties back to Monroe. He's recruiting Lance Hurd. Phil Picchiotti. This is a guy here that everybody is falling in love with. I'll be the first one to tell you. I think he's underrated on the On3 network, and I think he's due for a reevaluation. 6'3", 225, active guy when it comes to playing the linebacker position, was already in Nebraska on spring game. I think OU is out front. I think Penn State is there, but I think Nebraska really impressed him on the spring game. Obviously got him to come back for an official visit. I always put Nebraska with having a chance when they get him back for a visit. Ben Bramer comes back to town for the first time since October. Interesting name on the list this weekend, Tatum Tuioti. This is the son, obviously, of Tony Tuioti that took the job out in Oregon. He's coming back. He actually was in Lincoln for the spring game as well, came back. And here's a guy here, Riley Van Poppel. Keep a close eye out. Argyle, Texas, defensive tackle. We have him listed and evaluated as an inside offensive lineman, but he's really a DT. Coach Applewhite recruiting him again. I think Nebraska is the leader for Van Poppel. That may be the one guy out of this group right here that you have to pay close attention to see if something happens this weekend or shortly after. And then J.R. Sia, the 6'6", 308-pound offensive tackle from Utah, was also supposed to come in earlier this spring. I get lost in the weekends of when everybody was bringing those guys in for Junior Day. But he was unable to make it, went to USC instead, is being over-recruited, based on his ranking. He is a mammoth dude, 6'6", like I said, 6'6", 308. Another good guy, another offensive tackle that Nebraska has their eyes on. They are clearly still looking for offensive tackle help to get into this class, which is very interesting.
Yeah, and Van Poppel, Tuioti and Van Poppel are both interesting from their own standpoint. I mean, Tuioti, spending the last couple of years at Lincoln Southeast and being a pretty good player there, and now out to Oregon to move with his dad, of course. And he's still sort of, if Nebraska's using an official visit on him, that probably means something. With Van Poppel, the relationship, I feel like we've been talking about him for a long time. The relationship has been there for a while, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it's been one of those things that was kind of ported over the minute like that Coach Applewhite kind of landed in Lincoln. It's been one of those guys that just kind of off Nebraska. Well, everybody that was in Texas, though, was pretty much off of Nebraska's radar. And Applewhite brought him in there and kind of just established it. But Argyle and the Denton kids, the kids that came up that have visited from Denton, Texas, Argyle, Denton, very, very close to one another north of the Dallas Metroplex. It's not surprising. It's not surprising that Applewhite's been working that area, and obviously that there's a connection there. And I think obviously that we all know there's definitely some needs in the class and on that roster when it comes to interior defensive linemen. That's where Van Poppel could fit. The son of the MLB pitcher Todd Van Poppel. If everybody remembers going after his rookie cards back there, like what was that, 89 or something like that? Yeah.
Okay, so bigger picture here is, I mean, Nebraska's going to bring in a bunch of visitors. They have already this month. This is, I mean, since we've sort of opened things back up here, the recruiting calendar has changed and shifted a lot over the years. June, or at least it feels like how Nebraska's approaching it. I don't know how it is around the rest of college football, but a lot of guys are coming in June, and that sets up sort of, okay, go back, think about it, and if you want to make a decision prior to your senior year, which a lot of guys like to sort of do that, June feels like the right spot. Is this now the primary sort of month for Nebraska, whether it's, I don't know how to describe it, taking their last shot, or I mean, this is now a heavy lifting month in recruiting.
You're spot on. Everything has slided, everything that slides left with the NCAA introducing the earlier signing period, the NCAA introducing the earlier periods for people to take visits. Whenever they have given the recruits and the universities an opportunity to slide their timetables left, they always jump on it.
Yeah.
So this is a huge heavy lift month for recruiting. I mean, not just with official visitors, but with camps. And then you kind of get this quiet shutdown month before, in the month of July, and then you pick back things up in August. But June is a busy, busy month. And with this many guys coming in, which I don't even know what it was now. I think it was around 40 guys, I think, that I was kind of calculating the other night that could be in the month of June. It's a significant month for them to go ahead and get into the class. I don't think that they would want 15 guys committed to the class, come August. I think they'd want to be hovering around that, 12, maybe breaking in on the teams, kind of thing. But I think that they want to carry a few guys over, keep working them a little bit more, the guys they couldn't get in the month of June. But this becomes a primary time for schools to fill up their classes, for guys to go ahead and get off the recruiting process and jump into a class. But Nebraska has always continued to work some of those guys down the stretch throughout the season. And if Nebraska can go out there and, have some success this fall, they might be able to get a chance to get some of those guys to take a look at Lincoln later on in the fall.
Munson, ideally, and this is what I've always heard from Nebraska coaches, they want to get guys in for game days and see, they want to get them to see, and especially when it's an official visit. But that, I mean, with over the years, with the game times moving up, and, obviously travel's never really been particularly easy to Lincoln, especially if you're coming from far and wide and you have to play a game on Friday night. Like, it's always been sort of a hassle, and the timing has to work out really, really well. I mean, if you can get over the not having the official visit for an actual game day, this feels like it could really work out to a place like Nebraska's advantage, that people want to get this done earlier.
Well, I think to kind of add to what you just said, if you can get some guys in the class that are taking those earlier visits, those early junior days, and they're kind of determining their top 5 of their official visits, and they make their official visits, those guys want to get back to Lincoln regardless for a game in the fall, anyway. So it's like you've got a way of kind of leveraging that without even, it's kind of baked in. It's kind of baked into the whole entire process in the first place. So I think that I think obviously, to your point, it's a huge selling point that weekend, and I think that what's kind of also happening here is that these kids that are showing up in Lincoln, they're understanding how transparent and genuine that the staff is, and they're seeing the facilities and actually the construction. But a lot more of these guys are getting a chance to see behind the curtain and talk to a couple of these players, and that's kind of been putting things over the top for them a little bit. So I do feel like that weekends in Lincoln are a big recruiting tool, but I think Nebraska's finding great ways to supplement it for now. And then they can go ahead and bake that in with some guys that are a little bit more hard to get to Lincoln, bring them in on the weekend, and really wow them.
Tangibly, Munson, what does Vince Ginta, what has he sort of meant to the recruiting operation since he's been here? And obviously he's had some history here. It's sort of hard to tell what's what. I mean, Nebraska has some momentum right now on the recruiting trail, a lot because of its assistant coaches who bring, fresh new ideas and energy and stuff like that. And a lot of those guys are recruiters. I mean, I put Applewhite and Mickey Joseph and Bill Bush into that category. But what does Ginta bring from the sort of organizational standpoint?
I think he's providing the direction that was lacking, last summer. I mean, when things kind of fell apart and there wasn't a whole lot for us to talk about when it came to recruiting, there was a serious lack of direction. There were guys that just slid right off the board. There were lack of follow-up. There was guys that came in for the spring that were never followed back up with again until the new staff came in. Caden Green is one of those guys. There had to be some accountability that was being pushed back onto the staff to be accountable to the players that are on your board, that are in your area. And I think that Vince Ginta and guys like Sean Dillon are those driving forces behind the scenes when it comes to these coaches who are great recruiters that you do want to put into the halls of the school or into the living rooms with their families to get these guys to come to Nebraska. But they still need to be organized. There still needs to be a plan. And I think that's what Ginta and the rest of the staff pull together so well.
Yep. It feels like a more well-oiled machine at this point, or more well-oiled operation, for sure. Munson, we appreciate the time as always. We'll let you go. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Talk to you next week, man. We'll see you.
Brian Munson of Husker coming soon. Nebraska coming soon, right? On 3.com.
I need a roster again. A lot of people changing.
We'll talk to one of his coworkers, Steven Sipple. You get a name change, you get a website change. What is anything?
I can't. I need a playbill for all you people.
Brian Christopherson hasn't changed recently. Still Nebraska 24/7, although formerly from the Lincoln Journal-Star. He'll join us in a couple minutes. We'll talk about the roster a little bit more. It just, back to that last part with Munson there, it just feels like sort of an operation for Nebraska that is, has kind of a purpose, has a direction. And this is what I was saying too, like, you're not exactly sure what's what. Maybe this is sort of the perfect confluence of events for Nebraska to sort of feel a little bit better. All the new assistant coaches coming in, and then as quiet as it got last year, remember they were gearing up for, obviously a huge season. It didn't turn out well. Recruiting maybe took somewhat of a back seat a little bit. You're coming off the pandemic. There's still some sort of restrictions involved there. Who can you bring on campus? How many times where? Stuff like that. What kind of contact can you have? Camps, what are those going to look like? Like, we were still in that part of it last year at this time. So,
you throw the coaching staff into flux, and it's, well, we need to win now. We're not interested in high school seniors. We need portal guys who can help us today.
Right. So, I don't want to sit here and be like, that was bad and this is much better. But there's a certain feel to it right now that has the ball rolling a little bit downhill for Nebraska in recruiting right now. Now we get into September and October and November, and what you show on the field will reflect in recruiting as well. So you still have to sort of hold up your end of the bargain on that side of things. Otherwise, you're going to be playing catch up for the first half of 2023 as well, if not picking up all of the pieces from the season. But yes, right now we'll admit it, it's Kool-Aid season. You drink the Kool-Aid, but only if you want to.
It's a Nebraska invented beverage.
But I have the ability, and I think a lot of people should, to sort of separate what is recruiting momentum and what is, this equals enter amount of wins here, or this means that this guy is this. We don't have to draw all these conclusions. Not everything has to mean everything, but good vibes are good vibes. And it's something, it's a freshness that Nebraska hasn't felt around their program, I don't think, in a couple of years. That's with the assistant coaches and also, stuff that's going on behind the scenes as well. A little bit on that and the roster. I mean, I feel like we've had BC on a bunch and we've talked about running backs. I want to ask about two specific guys, and one of them's a running back, one of them's an offensive lineman, who we saw small glimpses of last year. Gabe Irvin, Teddy Prohaska. They're both coming off of significant injuries. So we saw them for glimpses last year. Then they got hurt and are sort of dependence or maybe our propensity, I guess, as a fan base to say, oh, let's just slot those guys in. We'll talk about that and plenty more with BC next here on 1620 The Zone. Connor Happer, Josh Odson back with you on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone, live from Werner Park. Getting you ready for baseball this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday against Lehigh Valley. There will be corn uniforms tomorrow.
Fireworks tonight.
We're at the Stormfront team store. They got the Omaha's hats out. It's looking good. Come by, grab some merch. They open their doors here in just a little bit at noon. Let's talk football. More football. Football with Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7. BC, hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
I am good. So I feel like we've talked the most common topic we've talked about has been the running back room on this show in this particular spot over the last several weeks here. And it's sort of, the picture has maybe become a bit more clear. And I think we have a good sense on the effectiveness potentially of the running back coach. You wrote about Gabe Ervin and how he's sort of the forgotten about piece maybe in this, given that, he missed the majority of the season last year after the Oklahoma game. Where does he, in your mind, slot into a room that you like the talent, but you're not quite sure of a pecking order?
Yeah, that's a good question because it felt like we were just about to see what Gabe Ervin could really do last season. It was such a cruel thing because if people remember, it was against Oklahoma, and he was about to make the biggest play of his Husker career because there was a giant hole there. I mean, it was wide open. I don't know. He might have scored on it. And, it's just one of those where the turf gets you, your knee, you plant the wrong way. And those serious injuries more often than not happen without contact, it seems like. The biggest thing I think when you come back from something like that, this isn't my own experience. I'm just a pencil neck geek, but talking to guys who have played the game at a high level is you got to get past that mental part, where you're definitely trusting your body and your cuts and everything that was so natural to you for all of your life. You got to make sure you still have that and that confidence just in your movement out there. So that's going to be the biggest thing with him. But coming out of high school out of Buford, Georgia, people might know that was a powerhouse program. Sean Beckton knows it really well recruiting it. Nebraska's gotten good players there. And Gabe Ervin was sort of a do-everything sort of guy. He was good at catching it. He was good at blocking, all the stuff. And so even this spring when he wasn't out there, Scott Frost would always kind of mention him. Like whenever he talked about the running backs, and he'd be like, and of course Gabe's coming back too. I think Scott Frost, really thought a lot of him last season and just his maturity. So I don't count him out at all because I don't think we got a chance to see what he can do at all last year. I think he's a really talented player that was working behind sort of a O-line that was really scuffling early in the season. And because of that, we really saw limited playmaking from him, but I don't know that it was his fault at all. It was, I think, a lot of the things around him.
I don't know if you'd call these, so I don't know how you'd categorize these guys, but I think they're in really similar situations. With Ervin coming back off the injury, he goes into a room that is, sort of, crowded now. And then I put him in a similar category as far as what they are going to see when they get back as a guy like Teddy Prohaska, who both of these guys we saw glimpses of last year, really, really liked what we saw, had long-term injuries that ended their seasons, and now come back, and maybe in Prohaska's case, they're going to be depending on him quite a bit more, I think, than they will be in Ervin. But I guess how would you categorize those guys? I mean, I don't know if they'd be like wild cards, but they feel really important for Nebraska's season this year.
Yeah, I think Teddy is, but I think people also have to remember he's barely played any college football. And so I do think sometimes we did this a little bit with Turner Corcoran. Remember he played against Rutgers in that weird 2020 finale on a Friday night, and he played pretty well. And because of that, it sort of set this talk throughout the off season of this sort of like he was a little bit established. And he'd only played really in one college game. And so I think when he sort of had some struggles last year, you know, that should have probably been expected because he was basically a first-year left tackle or right tackle wherever he was playing. And so I think we have to remember that with Teddy as he goes through this season. I hope he gets a full runway into it. That's the big thing because I know he was still he's still got a big summer ahead. I think to sort of get his conditioning up where he is absolutely ready to roll in late July when fall camp starts. And if he can, you know, he's going to have a big camp, and so that's the big part. Can he get the conditioning together and all that? But there's no doubt Teddy's got a high ceiling. It's just a matter of I think people do need to have some patience and understanding that he's still a very young player playing one of the toughest positions in all sports.
Yeah, it's really a unique situation, and that's where the two paths sort of split because, like I said, I don't know, like if Gabe Ervin can't, you know, get back to what he was or greater than what he was last year, Nebraska sort of has other options at the running back spot, but they're going to be counting what it's probably a bad thing. It can't end up being a good thing for Nebraska, but they're going to be depending on him quite a bit. And yeah, you're right. It's fair to give him a little bit of grace. And we don't talk about one thing we don't talk about BC is the depth along the offensive line. I mean, that's not really a thing that we've mentioned because it's not really there, I don't think.
You know, we don't know if it's there for sure. And Teddy being healthy is a big part of that conversation. If he is and he can man that left tackle, that obviously allows you to flip Turner around. You could use him either at right tackle or put him on the interior of the O-line. I think a storyline somewhat hidden from the general conversation but important is Trent Hickson, a veteran guy, had a very good spring at center. And there was a lot of talk sort of before the spring about maybe Turner was going to be the center. And I don't know, it could still shake out that way. But Trent Hickson, I think, sort of instilled some confidence in coaches and his peers that maybe he could handle that job. And so, you know, both Teddy and Trent and Turner, those guys all present different options. But you do need some other guys to come up around them. You know, Kevin Williams, who is a transfer guy who's a veteran college player in his first year at Nebraska, but also his last year. You'd love a guy like him to be able to give you some snaps. And then a big part, sort of like how this line goes, you know, Bryce Benhart. He's sort of been a guy who he was a big-time recruit. He's had sort of inconsistencies. Is this the year where he can take a step? And if he could play right tackle and Corcoran goes inside, I mean, then you've really got something working. But there's a lot of ifs there still.
I asked this question earlier in the week to somebody else, so I'll ask you. And it's tough to do because everything that happens on the offense is related to another thing, whether, you know, it's the offensive line feeding off of running backs and quarterbacks and that whole triangle sort of being, it needs to be all good at the same time. But if I give you in a vacuum running back performance, offensive line performance, one stays the same as it was last year, and one gets, you know, let's say drastically better. Which one are you picking to get drastically better?
O-line all day, every day, because I think O-line can make, if O-line is drastically better, it can make good backs look a lot better than they are. And I think Nebraska has good backs. I'm not ready to say they have a great back yet. Someone has to come forward and prove that. But I think you would say between the names we've all listed at running back all off season, you ought to be able to find, you know, 2-3 guys who, if you give them some space, he can go get 7-8 yards on a play. You know, that they should be fully capable of that. So that's where it comes down to that O-line, getting that, you know, push that's 10 yards down the field that Donovan Raiola has been stressing the guys. And, you know, they felt good about their spring. And I know some people around here, you know, they say, well, maybe that's because the D-line was scuffling, and that's possible. Or maybe I've heard that before about the O-line. I'll believe it when I see it. That's also fair. But I do know the guys actually on that unit felt like they were getting a lot done in the run game and have some confidence. And they've gelled well with Donovan Raiola. So there's a good vibe there. But, yeah, to your question,
give me the O-line making a huge jump. That's always, I feel like, when you talk about Nebraska football, if it's going to ever be a big dog again, it's going to have to get back to, owning the trenches and just being great there. So we'll see if they can find that.
Hey, BC, just back to another running back. What kind of shot do you give A.J. Allen to make noise immediately?
That's an interesting one because I don't count him out, because running back's a spot where I feel like sometimes a first-year guy can step up and really have it. I mean, Gabe Irvin did it a year ago. He started 2 of the first 4 games. And A.J. Allen is a guy, sort of, you would say, handpicked by Brian Applewhite as a recruit. He'd recruited him at TCU. They have a very tight relationship. We always talk about these guys who have followed Mickey, or are following Mickey sort of from Louisiana or LSU to Nebraska. A.J. Allen did that with Applewhite. And so there's definitely a link there. It's not like there's going to be a real, I got to get to know this new coach phase going on. So there should be some idea of sort of the expectations. And Allen was a really good running back in high school. I mean, I think Nebraska got a pretty dynamic player based off his resume. Now, a lot of guys who play at this level at running back just had loaded high school careers. So you always factor that in. But he's sort of a bulldozer. You look at his film, he'll run some people over and he'll run away from some people too. So pretty put together guy. I don't think it's a deal where he's going to come in way undersized and have to catch up a lot there. So the only reason I would say where maybe hold the phone on it is because of all the names we've mentioned. And there's like 3 or 4 guys that could create a bit of a log jam there, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's shaping up to be, I think, one of the most fun battles of the fall, and one where they need to. This is another one, BC. I mean, they maybe had the same sort of situation last year where there was a bunch of guys and you were asking who's it going to be. I think the talent level as a whole in that group is better right now, and I sort of trust the guy that is their coach as well. But they still need to probably settle on a guy, and that was one of the things that we talked about sort of nonstop last offseason. And I'm still on that train. It might be more difficult actually this time around.
Yeah, you do need that 1A guy, I think. Now, you need 3 or 4 over the course of the season, but Nebraska needs to find that person who, Wisconsin seems to find him pretty routinely, where this guy's the standout. He's going to be the guy who, when it's the 4th quarter and you need to grind out a 9-play drive, you go to him. And back to the O-line and the 1A running back, I mean, that's where Nebraska football, we talk about all these close games they've been in. You got to have that where there's 9 minutes left and you hand that ball to the running back, your O-line takes it on themselves to get it done, and you chew that clock out. And we just haven't seen that a lot in recent years. I mean, you think back to like the Michigan State game last year, before the wayward punt, Nebraska had the ball on offense with a chance to grind that thing out. They had just, driven it down the field on Michigan State to take the lead, had them worn completely out, and they couldn't pick up a first down. It's those type of drives, as you think about turning from losing 4-point games to winning 4-point games, where you got to have that guy at running back and the O-line push. So we'll see if they can get it.
Yep, no doubt, BC. Good stuff as always. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good weekend.
Yep, thanks, Connor.
Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7. He had a good write-up on Gabe Irvin and his sort of situation that he walks back into. Gabe says, I'm ready. I'm 100%. I'm ready to go for the fall. So that's another name that is thrown his hat into the ring for the running back situation this fall. Super Regional update, game 1. Texas got out to a 2-0 lead via the home run.
Okay, we're keeping it classy.
The home run.
We're in public, so we're going to not say.
Via the home run in the first inning. East Carolina right back at it, 3-2, as they are in the top of the second now in Greenville.
And if you follow Alan Bell, he has been talking all week that Texas and ECU both like to score often and early, especially. So
well, that's coming true here.
Yeah, you should listen to that man.
The other start or the next start in the Super Regional will be Oklahoma and Virginia Tech, which will begin at 2.
They've also moved Louisville and Texas A&M to the main ESPN this evening. It was going to be on the U, and now it is on the main,
I find
the mothership.
I find it hilarious that they're trying to put these games in this. Like, so the first 2 games, which started at 11 and 2, are both slotted to be on ESPN2.
Oh, that's not.
There's
happening.
just no way in hell that's happening. It's 11:45. We just started the second inning in the first game. Like, we're not going to put 2 games on the same channel at once. So that Oklahoma, Virginia Tech, that'll be on another channel, probably ESPN News or whatever they do with that. I laughed out loud when I saw the TV schedule for that one.
Just go quad box, baby.
Our boys from Tennessee, the Vols, 55-7, start Super Regional play tonight against Notre Dame at 5. There is, my guess would be that there is some nervous tension down there, right? Notre Dame is kind of the team. It's a northern school, so people might want to root for them. And they have been a good team all year. Everyone thought they should have been a top 16 national seed and got a host. But they still got through their regional anyway, and they get the unfortunate matchup with Tennessee. But it's a tough one for the Vols as well. So they gotta win 2 games against a really tough team to get to Omaha next week, and then Louisville and Texas A&M tonight at 7:30. We could have theoretically the Virginia Tech Oklahoma regional, the East Carolina, or the one in Blacksburg Super Regional, the one in Greenville, the one in Knoxville, and the College Station one. So really, all 4 of them today could end before any of the night ones tomorrow begin, if things go the right way.
Oh, we could know 4 teams before some of these teams kick off.
That is correct. We could potentially know 4. Now, I don't think they're all going to be sweeps this weekend.
Sure,
but we could potentially know as many as 4 teams before 9:00 tomorrow, when Auburn and Oregon State get going in Corvallis, and then UConn and Stanford. They don't start till 9:30 tomorrow night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they'll stretch that into Monday if they have to go 3. We will come back. Josh has the odd news. Even though we're on the road, the odd news does not stop.
It travels.
We'll be back with that next year on 1620 The Zone.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Oddson.
It is time for the odd news. Once again, we're out here at Werner Park where we have the air conditioning blowing right on us. So if you can hear that, I don't know if people can, but here we are.
They're keeping us cool.
Yeah, they do at the Stormfront team store. So if you want to duck in, you'll be able to do so here in just a little bit and get some Union Omaha gear, some Chasers gear, Omahogs. There's something for everybody at the store. And then, of course, come out all weekend and watch some baseball. And I'll be the PA guy tonight and tomorrow.
Look at you hitting the big time.
Yep, it's huge. It's really huge.
Are you going to wear one of those corncob hats tomorrow, or corn chasers jersey?
I can get festive.
Okay,
I can get festive. So if anybody has any ideas on that, you can send them in. But Josh, you have the odd news.
I do. This is a story that kind of blew up over the last 12 hours. I pulled it yesterday afternoon, and I saw it actually on like Good Morning America this morning. So people are talking. We go to Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, for two people who fell into a tank of chocolate at the M&M's factory in Pennsylvania.
Augustus Gloop?
There are Augustus Gloop vibes for sure. Two people were rescued after falling into a tank full of chocolate. Both patients transported to the hospital. Extent of their injuries unknown. So I'm going to assume they are fine, more or less.
Yeah, I would hope. I mean, you would think that it's either no injuries at all or, the exact opposite end of that.
Yeah, and I think if that were the case, we wouldn't be
talking about it on the news.
Exactly. Brad Wolf, communications supervisor for the area's 911 system, said fire crews have eliminated pulling them out of the tank. They had to cut a hole in the tank to get them out.
Oh, all the chocolate just spilled out
in your hair, and it seems like
it's messy, but injuries, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the chocolate is probably breaking your fall. A Mars spokesperson told CNN, quote, "We are actively managing the situation, and our primary focus is supporting the emergency teams on site. Nobody knows how this happened, but it does seem like they fell into a vat of chocolate somehow."
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining a vat of chocolate, and there's some sort of a walkway or a scaffolding above it.
That is what I am picturing as well.
You decided to look over the edge, and or maybe say, "What if I touched it? What would happen if I touched the chocolate and I licked my finger?" And then they went in that way. I don't know.
I would imagine on the M&M's tour, they're not taking you anywhere near vats of chocolate. These are employees, right?
You would think the food and health, administration, whatever that is, they would probably have rules that would prevent you from going anywhere near the vat of chocolate.
Could this lead to a M&M shortage?
Oh no!
Here in the summer,
another shortage?
Because you got to throw that whole vat of chocolate out.
Yeah, you do.
You can't sell that.
No, you can't. I mean, the only person that you could give it to is the people who fell in. Maybe that's what they were angling for.
Oh.
Yeah. This sounds. I mean, it sounds miserable and honestly sort of terrifying. I've heard this is different, but I've heard stories over the years of people falling into like the green bins and stuff like that.
That happens a couple times a year where it's like, guy fell in the green bin and he died.
Yeah, that gets real fast. And you can't so I wonder if it's the same thing with chocolate where like if you struggle, that's the further.
It's like quicksand.
Yeah. Or maybe would you sink?
It sounds like they did because they ruled out being able to pull them out of the top of the tank. They had to cut a hole in, which
it's too dense. Yeah, you wouldn't be able. It's not like a pool where you could float. Yeah, it's too dense.
It leads to the question of, okay, so you cut a hole in this tank. I assume to get the people out, also a ton of chocolate is run onto the floor.
Yeah, I mean it's literal Augustus Gloop. That's what they did with Augustus Gloop. He came out of a chocolate tube. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. No word on if the Oompa Loompas sang a song
I was gonna
after these
say.
people.
Yeah, where's Mike TV? And the weird grandpa. And Charlie with his tiny teeth.
Grandpa Joe.
How many times has Charlie and the Chocolate Factory come up on this show now? It's at least 4.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
It's one of the few movies we share.
I think we're good for a Charlie and Chocolate Factory reference a month on this show, which is really saying something.
Grandpa Joe is a faker. I mean, his legs worked
hopped
just
right
fine
up.
once there was some chocolate tour to go on.
He hopped right up.
He did. We go to Texas, Amarillo specifically for our next story. They're asking for the public's help to identify an unidentified Amarillo object caught on security camera outside the Amarillo Zoo.
Well, it's probably an animal, but okay.
Well, I hope not. Officials in the Texas city are asking for the public's help. They posted a photo to Facebook on Wednesday showing what appears to be an oddly dressed person wandering the gates of the Amarillo Zoo. Now, this person is either wearing a costume or a hat of some kind, because it looks like a Bigfoot, or in that area they would probably refer to it more as a chupacabra. It's quite a frightening image, and police want to know what the unidentified Amarillo object could be. The director of the Parks and Rec there in Amarillo said city officials would like the public to submit their theories. I'm sure he does not regret that decision at all.
Yeah. I mean, have they apprehended this thing?
They have not. There were no signs of attempted entry into the zoo. All the animals are present and accounted for, and they are unharmed. No signs of criminal activity
I gotta see a
or
picture.
vandalism. Yeah, I didn't print out the picture because I'm a
Amarillo.
company man. I didn't want to waste the ink.
Amarillo zoo creature is the
Yeah.
first thing you get.
It looks like that stereotypical Bigfoot photo.
Very grainy.
Yeah, super grainy, like suspiciously grainy. Why do security cameras have the worst definition of camera?
Well, I mean,
No Time to Die on Amazon Prime right now. Look at that.
15-second ads just to
15
watch
seconds is an eternity.
to watch a 10-second video. It seems super fun.
Stick around for the ending of that movie. It may surprise you.
All right, so we got like a fox cat human thing.
It's got, I don't want to say horns, but I mean it looks like
It looks like a
Taka and Razor from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
yeah. Whoa! It looks like a like Sonic the Hedgehog if he was able to stand or something.
Yeah, it's on. That's an important distinction. It is on 2 legs
It's-
like a human,
But it looks like it very well could go on all 4s.
very easily,
Yeah.
like a man.
But it definitely is a sort of a cat shape.
Yeah, I mean, most obvious answer is usually the correct one. It's probably just a human dressed up playing a prank or something. But
How about Rocket Raccoon?
from Guardians of the Galaxy,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Do we think-
Somebody else said it's Sonic the Hedgehog.
it does look like the Spurs mascot. That's right.
Some sort of a werewolf. Oh, this is pretty this is pretty curious.
It's interesting. And again, you can submit your theories to the Amarillo Parks and Rec Department.
I bet a whole bunch of weird creatures are walking around in Amarillo.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happens out there.
The Amarillo Armadillo.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff. You just know it. Okay, we'll keep our eye on that one. Also, Josh, we got an email from Tanner on the Equitable Bank inbox. He says, by the end of the year, can we get a reflection of the year and have like a top odd news story of the year?
Ooh, if the people want it, we can provide,
Now-
because in December we will be searching desperately for content during bowl season.
My first complaint would be, well, that sounds like a lot of work, and I haven't tracked any of these, and
Yes.
we've been doing them for 6 months.
I throw them away immediately.
But Tanner immediately answers that question and says, I'm sure it's a lot of work, but Connor, you got a spreadsheet for everything else. And he's right. So
You're supposed to spreadsheet the odd news, just put the headline in each day.
I mean,
It's not a bad idea, actually.
there were take what? It would take. I mean, you could do it as the show was going on.
There are a number of times where I've done the top 5 list and gone, man, I wish I would save these because
That's the thing.
I might
end up.
I don't want to
redoing
repeat them. Yeah.
Yeah, at some point, and then having a different top 5.
Well, you said on August 3rd.
Oh, people do that. I wish we had that. Like, I mean, I've talked about the running log of things for my life a lot, but the running log of things that we've talked about on the show, and so you can do percentages of what you talk about the most, not just Husker football, but like the offensive line. That's 4% of your conversations on this show. But if we could have a running log of things that we talked about on the Odd News, that'd be a good thing for everybody. How much work would it be? Not much if you started and then went as you went. It would be very difficult to go back.
Yes. Virtually impossible.
No, not impossible, but just way more work than I'm willing to put in.
Yes. Every time you stray from the prep sheet is when it would be most difficult.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we did actually not talk about that this segment.
Right.
Okay.
All right. That's a thought. Good one, Tanner. Thank you.
Finally, we are in a minor league baseball stadium for the show today.
People forget that.
Stormfront is open-ish. I believe they unlocked the doors a couple minutes ago, right at noon, like they're supposed to, because they're good employees here. We go to a minor league baseball stadium in Tennessee for this story, as a black bear came onto the field during a game.
That's not what you want.
Yesterday. Yeah. The Asheville Tourists.
Now, are those the dangerous ones, or because there is a kind of bear that
there is no bear I would look at and go, not dangerous.
Not me, but they do. Bear experts do say like there is one of the bears that's like cool.
Okay.
They won't mess.
Like a black or a brown bear.
If you come across a black bear, you'll probably survive. If it's a grizzly bear, you probably won't.
That's it. Thank you, Chance.
Thank you. That's a good producer there. Asheville Tourists posted a video online of the bear strolling out of the dugout at McCormick Field in Asheville, Tennessee. Once the bear was on the field, it walked around the warning track behind home plate into the visitors' dugout and out through the ramp behind the visitors' clubhouse. The bear left on its own into the wooded area behind Wicked Weed Brewing Pavilion. Hannah Martin, who very smartly got the sponsor in there, like a good minor league baseball employee. She is the assistant general manager for the Tourist. She told the Asheville Citizen-Times. Martin said it was the first time officials are aware of a bear visiting the inside of that ballpark. She said, "We don't know how the bear got in the stadium, but they suspect the animal may have approached from behind the outfield wall and entered through the bullpen, which connects to the field." The online post jokingly referred to the bear now being named Ted E. Tourist, serving as the team's new mascot.
So there has to be a reason we see all these bear videos and they rarely end up bad. Like, most of them actually I would categorize as funny, where the bear ends up like hanging out with the people.
Yes.
Like, we've seen that happen before.
I will put this on the poll during the next break. Are bears overrated?
I've never seen a video of a bear like,
mauling someone?
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Well, I'm sure that video's out there.
I don't want to see it, but I'm just saying. I've gone to the National Park Service website, and they have some safety tips regarding bears.
Oh, good.
This
News
is
you can use.
So for bear attack, the difference between brown / grizzly bears, brown bears, grizzly bears, same thing. If you are attacked by a brown / grizzly bear, leave your pack on and play dead. Lay flat on your stomach with your hands clasped behind your neck. Spread your legs to make it harder for the bear to turn you over. Remain still until the bear leaves the area. Fighting back usually increases the intensity of these attacks. However, if the attack persists, fight back vigorously.
Oh.
So there's a line in there somewhere between, all right, we've gone too far. It's time for me to fight this bear now.
If it becomes a revenant situation, please fight back.
Use whatever you have at hand to hit the bear in the face. Now, if it is black bears,
which one am I supposed to act big?
If you are attacked by a black bear,
that's a mountain lion.
Do not play dead. Do not play dead if you are attacked by a black bear. This is the
Okay.
exact opposite.
Okay.
Try to escape to secure a place such as a car or a building. If an escape is not possible, try to fight back using any object available. Concentrate your kicks and blows on the bear's face and muzzle. Now, those are just for attacks if the bear is actually attacking you. There's a whole nother set of rules if you just encounter.
Oh, okay. So if
bear.
I just see a black bear, I'm not supposed to run like hell.
You're supposed to identify yourself. Like, hi, I'm Connor.
Hello, Mr. Bear.
That's the first rule. Identify yourself.
I see that.
Identify yourself by talking calmly so the bear knows you're a human and not a prey animal.
It's cool, Bear. I'm cool.
Hello, bear. I am not prey. Please do not eat me.
I'm a little gamey. You wouldn't like me, sir.
Yeah, it's not really worth it. So those are some of the rules for bear encounters or bear attacks. Hope you don't find yourself in that situation. I sure wouldn't want to.
We probably saved lives here on this segment today.
I do. Look, I've never seen a bear in real life except for at the zoo. And he's no threat to me.
No.
I think I would probably freak out if I saw a bear.
I would forget everything you just said. I'd mix up the brown bear and the black bear info.
And I would just hope to God that I was inside of a house where the bear couldn't get me. But I've seen videos of the bear like opening up doors, like, and just walks around in the house.
Yeah, no, they're not stupid creatures.
They're they're smart, actually. That's what makes them terrifying.
They know where the food is.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Chance, for the important facts.
How do you know all this, Chance?
I was a Boy Scout for a very long time.
There you go. Okay.
Boom. Did you have any bear encounters?
We didn't have a bear encounter. The summer camp I worked at for 4 summers did have a mountain lion scare, though.
That's not what you want.
No.
That's not so. Okay, everything turned out fine, I think.
Yeah, no children were picked off that I know of.
Oh, okay. And the mountain lion just sort of walked away.
Yeah, I think did its own thing. We just put up little pamphlets in all the campsites. Don't travel alone.
Yep, that is a good idea. All right, thank you, Chance, and thank you, Josh. We will come back for the remainder of the noon hour of the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Back to your noon hour of the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, live from Werner Park, where the Stormfront team store is open. So we've mentioned tomorrow is the Corn Night, Salute to Corn. They'll be wearing different corn-themed uniforms, and we'll just salute corn all night. Tonight, they'll be playing as the Omahogs. So the hats are out. If you'd like to get an Omaha hat, they are available for your purchase. I think there are some jerseys over there too. But now, what has grabbed my attention via the Storm Chasers Twitter account?
Yeah, this is something you'll want to turn the radio up.
This is something called the Hogzilla,
which is a great movie, by the way. Check it out.
which is a foot-long hot dog. I mean, that should be probably enough right there.
Good start.
But it is also topped with bacon, pulled pork, and chicharrones.
Looks like there's a little drizzle of barbecue sauce on top as well. Oh,
This looks very good. They'll be serving this at Hot Dog Nation, which I'll tell you, Josh, we are in extremely close proximity to right now.
I don't know if they could cook us a couple. We'll eat them on the air. It'll be a great bit. Just saying.
Could be fun.
If anyone's listening,
could be fun.
That has that power.
But I will be here at the game tonight, and I will be purchasing Hogzilla this evening.
Report
back.
back.
Now you know my dinner plans. The Hogzilla will be all mine tonight. Joel tweets into the show at Happer Show. He says, steps to remember when introducing yourself to a bear during an encounter. Remember, this is an encounter. This is not applicable for an attack, only an encounter. Number one, a polite greeting. Hello, my name is.
Hello, bear. How are you?
Name, relevant, personal link, and manage expectations. So this is all good information, because you want to get a good impression when you're meeting a bear for the first time. You're not sure if it's going to be hostile, anything like that. You want to present yourself well. Thank you, Joel. I appreciate that.
First impressions are everything with bears.
They are. We're just learning this now.
I also asked on the poll at Happer Show on Twitter, are bears overrated?
Yes.
So far, no spoilers, but the answer is unanimous so far.
Why are you asking if they're overrated?
Well, we found out there was a friendly type of bear.
You mean overrated in like their danger?
Yeah.
Context.
There you go, asking for context. You and Damon.
I'm going to keep that poll at 100% because I'm really interested in bears, actually. I don't just see some of the times there's the issues with the poll question. Sometimes they'll get tweeted out, they'll have no context, and somebody will be like, does this guy think bears are overrated?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to be like, whoa, I didn't tweet that. These are not
data collection.
These are not my views. But I'll have to explain what we were talking about, and a lot of times it doesn't make any sense either. So there's
Well, did you guys see that? Did you guys see that poll where 6% of Americans think they could beat a grizzly bear in a fight?
Oh, wow.
6%, huh?
So we really can't agree on anything as a society.
No.
If there are 6% of the population saying, you know what, I could take a bear.
I did not see that.
An old bear on the decline at the end. No, I could take that bear.
Maybe that's just from the people who've seen these bear videos and have seen the human. Those are. I'm just saying, you don't want to be in the fight with the bear. You don't. I don't feel like that's breaking news. I don't feel like that should be controversial in any way.
What is winning a fight versus a bear? Is it killing the bear?
Oh, I'd just say not dying.
Okay.
That'd be a win for me.
You get a good story.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you're gonna leave with some scratches. I don't know if there's any doubt about that.
You will be going to the hospital immediately afterwards.
Super regional update: East Carolina 3, Texas 2, as they head to the top of the fourth. There.
Horns down.
And all of the other super regional games set to begin later on, with the next one being Virginia Tech and Oklahoma to start at 2. NBA Finals game, of course, tonight, where Draymond will probably do a podcast after the game. We have live golf going on again. I guess they're going to keep going.
They have not packed it in after one day. No, that is correct, Connor.
So the Alan Shipnuck story from yesterday. Alan Shipnuck is the guy who wrote the book on Phil, where the controversial comments were published from Phil regarding a journalist, Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
Not great stuff from Phil. But it was in the book, and it's on the quote unquote unofficial biography of Phil Mickelson. We've talked to a lot of people around his life. Phil's on the Live Tour now, basically stemming from that. Potentially one of the reasons, or if not the only reason, the tour exists in the first place. He was physically removed from the press conference yesterday, taken outside. Then he texted the tour, CEO, I guess, or acting sort of president, Greg Norman, and he said, "Hey, are you aware that I just got muscled out of Phil's press conference by a couple of your goons? Luckily for you guys, I kept my cool and de-escalated the situation. Please call me to discuss. I'd love to talk about this." Then Greg Norman responded, "Didn't hear about that, but thanks for letting me know." In between that time, where he received the text message back from Greg Norman, Alan Shipnuck had acquired a video of himself being removed from the press conference, and that video revealed that Greg Norman was standing in the background watching the entire thing happen.
With a scowl on his face the entire time.
I actually love this tour. Now that I think it's just great comedy.
It is certainly more entertaining than the PGA Tour. It doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's better.
There was some. I watched a clip this morning. I actually tweeted it out. So they were talking about it on like the Today Show or one of the early morning shows or something like that, where they barely ever dive into sports and whatever. So they had a guy out there, and they basically asked him, "Okay, so what's this tour all about?" And he gave this whole long spiel, and he mentioned the money at the very, like, why are players wanting to go to this, or why are players going to this? And they mentioned the money at the very, very tail end. And one of the main points that he wanted to get across and why it was so fun was like, they are doing shotgun starts. And this was the reason, apparently, that you started an entirely new tour. I mean, once again, we go back to yesterday. You're going to have to tell me why this is better. I still can't figure it out.
Really, what are we doing?
And all of the roads lead back to, well, it's just all about the money. And it is. It's become abundantly clear that it is just all about the money. But they're trying to tell us that it's not. And they're doing a really, really, really bad job at it. Hey, I'm really frustrated with the PGA Tour. Okay, what are your frustrations? Is there any way that we can make this better on the PGA Tour? What can we do as players? What can we do as the tour? Let's work together. Let's be collaborative. No. We're going to make a new tour, and it's going to be fun because they'll have dumb graphics, and they'll be broadcasting from a spaceship, and we are going to do shotgun starts and play on teams. And that is the basis upon which this new tour begins.
So I was thinking about this last night. Are you surprised a guy like John Daly hasn't jumped over to this? Just to like, hey, let me drive my golf cart. Let me chug a few beers during this course. What do you care? I will collect your checks. I will be full John Daly on this tour if you let me.
John Daly Live Tour.
Because this has the feel of something that would appeal to John Daly.
I mean, I think that's the way they're sort of trying to position themselves. But once again, we watched it yesterday. It's just golf. It's not like golf with an attitude or anything.
No,
it's golf.
It's not. It's not a bunch of Happy Gilmores out there shaking up the PGA. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Just with a different graphics package that is objectively worse.
Are you not giving John Daly enough credit for having morals? Morals in some ways?
Look, we spent a good chunk of an afternoon watching John Daly cameos. No, I don't think he has. And that's not even like,
Those are really funny, by the way.
Do I think John Daly's politics line up with that? Like, it's not even that. It is, this seems like something that John Daly would be like, you know what? That looks fun over there. I'm going to go do that instead of play the boring memorial.
I'm just
last
waiting.
Weekend.
I'm just waiting for somebody to be like, yeah, I'm not sure how much longer we could do this because it's not that great and nobody's watching it.
Well, they're not going to run out of money.
Nope.
Bad ratings aren't a problem because you can always go, well, it's on YouTube. It was hard for people to find, so that's why they didn't watch. It's not because they're not interested.
They could theoretically do it forever, but how long can you do something when nobody? I mean, you're starting it with the hopes of splitting or fracturing the other tour, and it feels like now the PGA Tour is just going to end up probably stronger. In my opinion,
I would think, and I mean, for the people on the Live Tour, they've got to be like Dustin Johnson has to be like, oh, they don't have a TV deal? Okay, great, fine. I came here for anonymity. I came here to not be asked any questions about anything.
So that is today in the Live Tour as they keep rolling on.
Schwartzel still winning?
I don't know. Is there a leaderboard? Live Tour leaderboard.
There is a leaderboard, but can you read it? What was Bishop saying yesterday? They don't even have a leaderboard on their website?
No, you have to go to like ESPN or you can't even, you can barely read it there. Yes, Charles Schwartzel appears to still be in the lead.
Dominant, wire-to-wire winner.
But I still don't know if it's like is it an individual tournament? Do they do individual and team? It's all very questionable. All right, coming back here, we still have a bunch of stuff to get into. Josh's top 5 at the end of the hour. LeBron is talking, and he says he's going to buy an NBA team, and that team's going to be in Vegas. So that's going to happen.
I've got thoughts on that.
That is going to happen soon. And opposing coaches talking about Nebraska football. All to come on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. All right, so this was in the Athlon magazine yesterday. Gary actually tweeted this out. They do a feature that can be fun, can be informative, also can sort of be explosive at times, but also, this is how people view you. This is sort of perception. It is opposing coaches talking about Nebraska. Let me read through a few of these. And you stop me, I guess, when you find something that, when you hear something you either find interesting or untrue. We'll start here. In their division, Nebraska still has the best looking roster. We call it the all bus team because they look better than anybody else in the West pregame. Long, tall dudes, really athletic. And then after a quarter or so, you stop worrying because they're usually hurting themselves.
Oof.
They struggle with turnovers. They struggle with technique. I think it's a culture issue. That's just one thought from one coach.
That hurts to hear. I can't necessarily disagree with any of that, but it hurts to hear.
It's sort of like it's sort of a backhanded compliment because when Scott Frost took over, you never would have said, "Well, this team looks the part. This team looks like they can, the all bus team." Now, is it worse to just not have it, or to have it and not use it? And that's sort of where Nebraska's at right now. But the part about usually hurting themselves, struggling with turnovers, struggling with technique, and the coach concludes that he thinks it is a culture issue, which I can't refute. I certainly can't refute.
Yeah, it hurts to hear. I mean, oof.
Defensively, this is another coach. Defensively, they've improved, but they lost some of their better guys to eligibility, and they filled it with transfers. That's just a fact. We ask ourselves a lot.
That sounds like Iowa talking. They filled it with transfers.
Transfers. We ask ourselves a lot what's going on there because they're pulling in good talent and have the resources, and the administration seem to have faith in the staff. Like that's it.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on over there? They should be better. With the new OC and the do or die mentality, they have to manage the summer really well and find the right quarterback. My guess is that Mark Whipple is going to take over the room. He's a headstrong guy. Once again, all true.
Yeah. What's that last part? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's worth a discussion. The biggest thing they need to do is get the offensive line to a point where they can run the ball long enough to let the defense breathe.
Mm-hmm.
That defense isn't the problem. They were solid as hell at times. The offense just needed to stay on the field and not burn quick possessions, not go tempo and get desperate because you're playing from behind.
Yep.
Obviously, this is a big year for them. They're talented enough, but is there some kind of mental block here? If they can't come out and win and show some signs that they can build around what they're doing, this is probably it. Okay, so the point of this is not to provide this groundbreaking news or, I don't think there's anything in here that came off as something that we don't know. This is sort of the issues that Nebraska has to face. But you're increasingly, I am anyway, I'm increasingly sort of wondering about these months right now and how they do things over the summer and then into the fall, and having the first couple games it's sort of the same story as last year. But I really don't think we can overstate the importance of that first game in particular, and then the first few. If they find a way to start 4-0, you can even include Oklahoma in there, but 3-0 is one thing, 4-0 is another. They find a way to start their season that way. Things sort of settle in, they gel, confidence is building. They start getting the ball rolling downhill, something that they've never done in the Scott Frost era, never had a 3-game winning streak. Then, I don't know. You're off and running. I genuinely that could go anywhere. They could win 8-9 games. I really do believe that. But this and what happens early in the season is so important, because on the other end, if they lose that first game, we're talking about a completely different story. I mean, this could go really south in a hurry, and it may not be all that representative of how good or bad they've done over the offseason and getting things to gel and getting things to go together. It's sort of just about the results. It's crazy that all this is going to come down to a stretch of games in a month, and maybe even one game in particular in the Northwestern game that just is a huge deal, just has a huge cloud, I guess, over the season right now, and how it ends up being for them this year.
So you're saying got to get them early?
Yeah.
Just like Frost did all those years ago?
I mean, you gotta win games right out of the gate here. It's just, I mean,
yeah, because if you lose Northwestern,
but even coaches have pinpointed that. Like opposing coaches and people who watch Nebraska from the outside have pinpointed that. Look, we talked about what Nick Baumgartner wrote this week on Whipple and Frost and the offense and how it gels and how it comes together. And that line that I was really intrigued about in there was like, if Scott, and I'm paraphrasing, but if Scott Frost sort of, lets Whipple do his thing and sort of backs off of it a little bit, this is a thing that can work, but you got to give it time, and you don't have that much time. I mean, this is something that people around college football seem to now sort of understand. It's not just like, yeah, well, they got an offensive coordinator, and he's pretty good, and we'll see how that works. No, it is the key here is the dynamic between those two guys and what that means for Nebraska's offense. And then, of course, Casey Thompson as well. But that is the real key. And coaches, even around the league, as we read there, have started to sort of pinpoint that and realize that. And
we were,
and there's nothing that opposing coaches could do about it either. It's just it's Nebraska doing its own thing.
We sort of work a lot on Twitter. We're taking in comments from all these different writers and people and fans of the program. Are you mentally ready for every single offensive possession to be a referendum of the program on Twitter?
Yeah, I think we've been there for a while.
But I mean, just microscope, bigger than in years past. Just every play.
We were painting the picture last offseason that if they lost to Illinois, which they did, that basically the sky was falling and the world was going to end. And weirdly, I actually think they sort of recovered from that okay. But when you talk about the little stuff, the stuff that lost them games a lot, they never were able to find it. So I don't know if it's different if they were able to just simply win that game against Illinois and start 1-0 and get that ball rolling in the right direction. I mean, that's a question that we just can't know the answer to. I'm not going to take that off the table. I think that's certainly a possibility.
One of the bigger what ifs of the last 3, 4, 5 years.
I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and maybe we make more out of it. I mean, because what it really is there's too many. If they have a foundation, there's too many cracks in it to where it's not stable in the end of games, and you don't have anything to fall back on. That's the real sort of moral in the story here, and I don't think that gets just simply fixed by the fact that you won a game. Am I breaking chairs?
I think you are. I think you broke that chair, Connor.
No, I did. No way. Well, it's pointing forward now. It's just kind of weird. But anyway, I don't think that just gets fixed by the result of one game. But it certainly means a lot in terms of the confidence, and they talked about that a ton last year. It just I find it really intriguing to listen to these coaches or to look at these quotes and first of all, see that the coaches probably see, I mean, none of this is new to us because we talk about this stuff every day. Like
there is a bit of, okay, so we are analyzing this correctly.
Yeah,
okay.
they see it the same way we see it. I mean, they're good enough. They can be there. It's just now with this season, they don't have a lot of time, and the question is, how quickly can you bring it together? And we don't know. Us stuff is part of this whole thing. We don't and won't. Because they could look good during fall camp and they can feel good during fall camp, but we won't know until there's live bullets. And that doesn't happen until August 27th in Ireland. And here we go. That's basically the next 2 months of your life, 2.5 months of your life, with a little break for the College World Series in between. A text comes in from Tommy.
Hi, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy. 402-951-1620. My favorite what if is what if their first game as a program wasn't canceled. We went to the Colorado game 1-0. Everybody always goes back to that.
That I would say that's maybe the biggest. Aside from like, hey, what if they won more games, or what if they?
Everybody always goes back to that. The way 2018 finished was still pretty satisfying. Right? Even though they went for, like, I always use this. And part of momentum in the offseason, it's how you finish. What kind of taste is left in your mouth at the end of the year? And yeah, they went 4-8. They won 4 out of their last 6 games that year. It felt good. So regardless of what happened in those first 6 games, even though you had one that ended up getting made up because it was Bethune-Cookman a little bit later on in the season, you may have beaten Colorado. But what effect does that winning that one game have on the rest of the entire 10-year? I don't know. We're so far removed from that now that I almost hesitate to go back that far. And frankly, we're sort of removed from this is a new Nebraska football program under Scott Frost. Everything about it is new and it feels different. So you almost hesitate to go back to even last year, with the exception of some guys, not a lot of them, by the way, some guys who were here and were, making plays for you on the field. It's a different feel. It's a different vibe. That doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be bad either. Kyle tweets in on the JTech Instructions on Twitter feed. Anything that happens on or off the football field is a referendum on the team, and that won't change until the outcomes on Saturday change. And even then, I get the vibe Nebraska fans have always been that way, even in the glory years. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at too. I think that's now. Will it feel heavier? Yeah. I mean, you go back to the emotions of that Illinois game last year when they're up 9-0. You're like, this feels really good, but it also feels sort of wobbly, and you weren't going to get past that until you got up 27-0, because and then the shoe of course dropped with Cam Taylor-Britt and that whole punt in the end zone, and then the Adrian fumble that just killed them. You felt like it was 9-9, but you felt like they had lost in that moment. You were sort of waiting for that to happen. And I don't know how you get past that. Like that is what one of those coaches said about the mental block. There's no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt that there is a mental block. So that's another thing they have to get over the hump on this offseason. All right, coming back, Josh's top 5, which is
top 5, and I will explain this in greater detail when we come back. It is the top 5 pop culture dinosaurs. It is an idea I had earlier this week that Bill Simmons has stolen from me. For profit, mind you.
Why are we talking about dinosaurs?
Because Jurassic World comes out today, Connor.
Oh.
The 6th Jurassic Park / World installment.
Would you like to know how many minutes of Jurassic Park I've watched? All of them?
The first one, and that's it?
All of them combined. I'm not even sure if I've seen the first one.
My God, Connor.
How dare you?
Who was in that movie?
Jeff Goldblum.
Sam Neill,
yeah.
Laura Dern.
Performance for the ages from Jeff Goldblum. Oozing machismo for a solid straight 2 hours. Samuel L. Jackson.
Jurassic Park.
He is Googling Jurassic Park as if he doesn't know every frame of it.
Richard Attenborough, David Attenborough's brother.
I don't even know who that is. Yeah, I probably saw this. I don't know, probably 20 minutes of it or something like that.
What?
I never. Yeah.
How are we not watching this on film school this week?
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. I knew about him. Samuel L. Jackson for sure.
I knew about him.
Yeah, I knew that he was in this. People seem to enjoy Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, I probably like 20, 30 minutes, basically. Now, so there's 6 of them now?
Yes. There are 6 of them as of this weekend. Jurassic World Dominion.
Are there any of those dinosaurs that made your list? Do they have names in Jurassic Park?
Yes, they all they are species.
Do you become friends with the dinosaurs?
You know what? Kind of, yeah. In Jurassic World, there are some cuter, cuddlier dinosaurs.
Okay. So Josh's top 5 dinosaurs. I can only think of a couple pop culture dinosaurs that I know about.
Okay.
Barney. Is Barney on the list?
No, Barney was way too high on the Ringers list. Because again, they
Barney
stole my
is
idea.
Very pervasive in culture.
Oh no, he had a moment for sure.
Oh yeah, I loved Barney when I was a kid.
Yeah, we all did.
He was also in one of the Jurassic Park movies.
What?
Very briefly.
Barney?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Josh, can you explain this? What is Chance? Chance, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
Chance, what are you talking about?
There is a.
Mm-hmm.
So during the climax of Jurassic Park 3 against the Spinosaurus, Alan Grant makes a call for help to Ellie, and her son answers the phone, and he gets distracted taking the phone to his mom by a episode of Barney on television.
Mm-hmm.
Dinosaur in a dinosaur movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There we go.
Okay, so
watching it now.
It sounds like Chance will have. There you go. It sounds like Chance will have takes on the list. We'll come back with it next year on 1620 The Zone.
Must go faster.
I guess we got some Jurassic Park fans here.
Yeah, it's one of the most revered movies in all of human history.
What? Revered? What are you talking about? Like
people like it. It made quite a bit of money.
We just talked about the most popular movies. So you're telling me Jurassic Park is one of those?
Yes. I would say so. For people under the age of 40, yes. You looked up popular movies. First of all, I want to know why Joe Dirt and Scooby-Doo popped up.
Google has no idea what it's talking about.
Scary Movie 2, Requiem for a Dream.
I typed into Google most popular movies of all time, and the list that Google decided to give me was this: Joe Dirt, Scooby-Doo, American Psycho, Remember the Titans, Spider-Man, Requiem for a Dream, Scary Movie 2, and Zoolander. That's not correct.
One, maybe two of those are even remotely near the conversation.
Google does not know what it's talking about. Highest rated movies on IMDb. Top 250.
Jurassic Park is in there.
I've seen Shawshank, and I liked it.
Yes.
So there you go, 1 for 1. The Godfather, same. Dark Knight, Godfather 2, 12 Angry Men.
Great movie.
Great, yeah, it's a great movie. It's old. Schindler's List, Lord of the Rings, Pulp Fiction, another Lord of the Rings, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. And that's your top 10.
You're overrating Lord of the Rings, IMDb.
How far do I have to go to get to Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park is number 151.
Thank you, Chance. It's number 151, right in front of Kill Bill.
Criminally low for both of those movies, actually.
So you're telling me that Jurassic Park is one of these great movies and Yojimbo is in front of it?
Yojimbo's a great movie. It's
I've
actually
never heard of Yojimbo.
It's a samurai movie. It's the basis for Dirty Harry. Dirty Harry saw that and said, you know what? We could do that with Clint Eastwood and white people.
Well, it's behind Yojimbo, and it's behind The Truman Show, which is an actual good movie.
Oh, my God.
He's leaning into the take, and
Yeah.
and I want to hit him.
Mitchell tweets in, I think it's a great point. I quote Joe Dirt on a daily basis. I talk about Joe Dirt more than I talk about Jurassic Park.
I quote Jurassic Park every time I'm driving behind someone slow.
What do you say?
Must go faster.
Must go faster. Yeah.
All right. What's your top 5?
My top 5 is top 5 dinosaurs in pop culture. And before a lot of you say, oh, The Ringer did that yesterday, or you're just stealing that idea, Josh. No, I'm not. Because if you go back.
Josh, The Ringer did this yesterday.
If you go back to, I believe it is Wednesday's top 5 list, you asked me what the topic was. I said the word dinosaurs, and then you implanted the idea, oh, why don't we do top 5 digits on your hand? And I said, yes, let's do that. So if you go back to the tape and listen to it, you can hear me set up the dinosaur top 5 and then completely pivot.
So you had this list ready on Wednesday.
I did. I've had it ready all week because I knew someday this week I'm going to want to use this in celebration of the end of the Jurassic era.
So did The Ringer rip you off? Like, is their list similar?
I suspect that fellow Celtics fan Bill Simmons
see what The Ringer
saw my legal pad and said, you know what? It's a good idea. I'm going to take it, and I'm not going to pay him for it.
Yeah, because you don't put your stuff on computer. It's too dangerous.
It is. It is. You know, the Russians will take it. And Lord knows now more than ever, we're all against the Russians.
All right, I'm on The Ringer's list too, so...
So we can compare and contrast?
Yep.
Okay.
Wow, they didn't even call... Wow. All right, I have a problem with this already.
Chance number 5, please.
Gosh, come on. Take forever.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Dino from the Flintstones. Maybe the first great dinosaur that we all grew up with watching the Flintstones. You've seen the Flintstones?
I've seen the Flintstones. What was he? Was he their pet?
Yeah, he was like their dog, basically, but it took place in the prehistoric times, so there weren't dogs, there were dinosaurs. He was a brontosaurus, maybe a brachiosaurus.
Yeah.
Purple in color.
Yeah, like Fred, I like Barney.
Yeah.
I like those guys.
Yeah, they came together. Show. They were they had a due time, a yabba due time.
Yeah. I always wondered about their feet and and they had to drive those cars.
Yeah, probably a lot of like foot problems, corns, bunions, blisters.
It's pretty difficult.
Yeah, like somebody maybe would have created a sensible sandal.
So what were they doing on that show? Like what was their daily objectives?
Well, Fred and Barney worked at the quarry.
Lives. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they worked at the quarry, and it was a ripoff of the Honeymooners, and it was about getting home at the end of the day, and then going to the Water Buffalo Club and bowling.
The Flintstones were most culturally relevant to me when I ate the Flintstones vitamins.
Okay, so I'm assuming you have not seen the movie starring John Goodman and Halle Berry.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
I assume you have not seen its sequel, Viva Rock Vegas.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So you're out on the Flintstones.
I'm not
movies.
out on them. I
Okay.
just like the vitamins, and that's all I have.
Rick Moranis played Barney. Gosh, I know a lot about the Flintstones. I did not know this about myself.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Now, as a child of the 90s, at the end of each and every week, I'd, pop a Capri Sun, maybe an Ecto Cooler if the time was right, and watch TGIF every Friday night on ABC.
That is either.
Oh, my God, I hate you so much. And for a few glorious years, there was a show on TGIF called Dinosaurs, starring the
Horrifying.
Sinclair family. What?
He said it was scary. He said it was horrifying.
As a
Please,
child, it was horrifying.
Yeah, they were large. They were people in suits, but like the suits were extra rubbery. And this show is basically a ripoff of The Simpsons. Number 4 is the Sinclair family from the show Dinosaurs. They had a wisecracking son. They had an intelligent and unpopular daughter. And they had a cute baby. And the baby would hit the father on the head with the frying pan and say, "Not the mama."
That's
because he wanted his mom, and he did not want the father to do any child rearing. All the dinosaurs were different colors in the same family, which I always found odd. And
There's a collection of dinosaurs.
Yeah. He worked.
You did not single out any of the Sinclairs.
No, because they're a family unit, tight knit.
Okay.
Earl Sinclair, the father, worked at they were like loggers, like cutting down trees all day.
What year is this?
I'm gonna go early 90s, maybe mid 90s.
Was their whole world dinosaurs,
Yes.
or was it just them?
It was all dinosaurs. It took place in the prehistoric times.
That'd be an idea for a show if you just had a family of dinosaurs and they had to live in the world with humans.
Like now?
Yeah.
Okay, we could do that. I mean, I guess that's what the Jurassic World movies essentially are.
Yeah.
Number 3, Chance.
3. Combination of 3 and 5. Number 3.
Now, Chance, you're gonna have to help me out on this one because I'm not super into video games, but I do know the character Yoshi.
Yeah.
Is Yoshi a dinosaur?
I'm not sure if in technicality Yoshi is a dinosaur, but everyone just refers to Yoshi as a little green dinosaur.
Okay.
As
I
shorthand
didn't know if you
anyway.
would know definitively.
Let me look real quick, and I'll get
Okay,
back.
Yoshi is a fictional dinosaur
Okay.
who appears in video games published by Nintendo.
Yeah. Number 3 is Yoshi, Mario's pet dinosaur. I'm going to say pet because Mario rode Yoshi a lot.
All right, so I was really bad at Super Smash Bros.
Is it because you tried to play as Yoshi?
No.
Okay.
I was already bad at Super Smash Bros. And then because I was bad, I chose Yoshi because I was the guy in, Super Smash Bros. Like there's 4 people playing at once. So it's, and usually there's a crowd. Like this is a gathering.
It's a party game.
It's a gathering of 10 plus people who are like, let me get the sticks. I got to jump on. And so when I got on, I knew I was bad and I knew I wasn't going to win. So I would be Yoshi and I would just be the guy in there turning everybody into eggs.
Yeah, you're just an agent of chaos at that point.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's my history with Yoshi. So I'm absolutely in on Yoshi being on the list.
He's cute.
Not
He's cuddly.
Great, not great in Mario Kart.
No. Who's good in Mario Kart?
Wario is the best.
Okay.
Right, Chance?
I don't think I disagree with that take, actually.
Wow.
To me, Wario, I'm gonna win.
He's angry, Mario. Yeah, I'm cool with Yoshi being here.
Okay. Number 2.
Here comes 2.
Number 2.
Thanks, Abe. Number 2 is the Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic Park. A movie.
Did he have a name?
No, just Tyrannosaurus Rex.
The fans referred to her as Rexy.
Rexy.
Mhm.
Ooh. Sexy Rexy.
Mm-hmm.
They become friends with this dinosaur?
Not friends, but Rexy does save the day quite a bit in very convenient times.
Her predatory nature just happened to be helpful at a time.
Yeah. Excellent point, Chance.
Nice.
Now, I was under the impression, I had been working off the assumption that you had seen Jurassic Park. I believe we could add this to the list of movies you've lied about seeing, because I believe I asked you this.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. Or maybe it's one of the. It is possible it's one of the movies that I said, you know what? I don't need to ask him about this. He's seen it.
That makes sense. I would have lied about this. It's all right. I'll try and find that list too because it's possible.
Yeah, an iconic character in movie history when she breaks out of the paddock in the original Jurassic Park. It's one of the best scenes in movie history. It's terrifying. It's fun. The effects are good because they used real effects, not that computer crap that they use nowadays.
Well,
I can just old man this.
They used both, actually. I mean,
well, yeah.
I could push up my glasses and talk for like an hour about this movie,
Please,
basically, the T-Rex in Jurassic Park was a combination of Stan Winston's animatronics and basically groundbreaking CGI from ILM. And basically,
that's the Star Wars people. Connor.
The Industrial Light and Magic, ILM. Basically, they invented the technique to make the T-Rex. Actually, back in the day, they had an animation of it walking, playing on TV, and Kathleen Kennedy saw it and like, yep, we're making the movie out of this. And so it was a big robot dinosaur and a CGI.
Thank you, Chance. I feel like I'm on an island here by myself with this guy.
It's okay.
No, I'm just looking to see if I lied about seeing Jurassic Park, and I did not because you didn't ask me about it, which means you thought it was so obvious that I had seen it.
Which I have since learned is not the way to go with you.
You would have to name all the best movies.
Just
of all
ask
time.
the question.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people might be sitting there wondering, well, if Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic Park is not number 1, what is number 1? Chance? The greatest pop culture dinosaur of this or any other era is...
Make it so, number 1.
Number 1.
You got to go back. You got to respect the classics. It's Godzilla.
Well, this is awkward because that's what the Ringer had on their list.
Yeah,
Josh.
I've said this several times throughout the segment. Bill Simmons stole my list and handed it to whoever wrote this article.
Yeah, I mean, the most
over a dozen movies,
the biggest presence among the movie dinosaurs.
Yes,
sure.
Some of those Godzilla movies are even good.
Godzilla is even back now on Call of Duty. They put him on Call.
Oh,
yeah, since they basically.
Can I play as Godzilla on Call of Duty?
I don't think so.
I think you have to avoid Godzilla in Call of Duty.
That is the goal.
So in video games, necessity or need to Fortniteify everything.
Mm-hmm. You need that DLC.
They have just gotten on this huge run of throwing random things into the game.
There's always a Terminator or a Rambo in these games.
There's been a Rambo already. You could play as Rambo. You could do that. You got to buy it for whatever. I've never bought any downloadable content ever in my entire life, and I won't, by the way. And so then they
just indignant.
They put Godzilla into the game, and I think you have to like avoid. You know, he'll swipe at you or something like that. I haven't tried to play against him.
Does he have the fire breath? The atomic breath?
I think so. He's also fighting Kong on the map or something.
Okay,
yeah, like Kong and Zilla are on the map at the same time.
And you're trying to do your thing amidst the fight.
Yeah, you have to be the last person standing while also not getting crushed by the kaiju.
Okay. Oh, good use of kaiju.
Thank you.
That's Josh's top 5 dinosaurs.
Now you looked at the list on the Ringer and
Yeah.
you said, "Ooh, I already have problems with this."
My problem is that they did it at 1A and 1B. Pick
Yeah.
a side.
No, you got to have a take.
Yeah.
I understand there were 2 people doing this list and they each wanted a number 1. You've got to hash that out before you go to print.
Noticeably no Barney here.
Yeah, no Barney. I was a little old for Barney. I did see this and go, oh, the Toronto Raptors. That's pretty good, actually. I should have put Vince Carter on this list.
You should have just put Vince Carter.
Just
by
Vince
himself.
Carter.
That is Josh's top 5 dinosaurs.
We learned a lot about each other in this segment, everyone.
Yes, we did. We'll come back with Sipple next on 1620 The Zone. welcome back. Connor Happer, Josh Hodson, still with you at the Stormfront Team Store out at Werner Park. Baseball tonight, the Omahogs, a.k.a. the Storm Chasers, and tomorrow they'll be the Corn Chasers. So changing it up a little bit this weekend, coming out to the ballpark. 7:05 starts, I believe, both nights. And stop at the store. Grab yourself some merch as well. They got Union Omaha stuff in here, too. Sipple joins us now. Hello, Sipple.
Hello, Happer. How are you doing?
Good. Have you ever seen the movie Jurassic Park?
Nope. No desire.
I don't know what to do with you people.
I haven't either. And I don't really have a desire. Is it about the dinosaurs? I guess. Why haven't you worked your way over to Jurassic Park at some point in your life?
Oh, I mean, I generally like movies that are about things that really happen. I guess that's part of it, and really happened like in a period where I can identify. It doesn't have to be nonfiction, but I prefer kind of nonfiction. So yeah, Jurassic Park doesn't fit anything about what I like.
He likes to live in reality.
I mean, the science is there. They explain it in the movie. It could happen.
Okay, well that's helpful. That's helpful, and that would I don't have anything against the notion of like seeing it, but I'm not going to go out of my way and pay money to do it.
That's where I'm at. We're on the same wavelength, Sipple. It's not that I don't like it or I don't want to see it. People have been talking about it for my entire life, but I'm not going to go out of my way for it. I'm with you there.
Dodson, we've got Dodson here. Nobody cares.
See, exactly. Nobody cares. That's where I'm at right now. All right, Simple. Let's get into it. We were talking about this earlier. Do you think that we have? Do you think that we will be able to properly convey how important the first? I mean, really, it's the first game. The first game of Nebraska's season is, and how much really rides on that game.
Yeah, I think we can properly convey it. I mean, I thought last year illustrates the importance of how important an opener can be. And this one could even be more telling. If Nebraska loses, Scott's back. Scott Frost, the head coach, his back is against the wall. Okay. Now you're looking for progress, right? And if they lose to a team that a year ago they defeated 56-7, it's hard to sell progress out of the gate. Now your back is even more. The conversation gets even more uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah.
And in this case, a lot more uncomfortable. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot riding on that game. Obviously, you just hope the players don't think. When we have these conversations, subconsciously, I guess I'm thinking, I hope the players aren't listening to this, because that's a lot. That's weighty. That's a very weighty conversation.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's heavy. There's no doubt about it. It was last year, and I know we sort of. I think we were on the same page, sort of almost pushing back against the idea of like, hey, this means everything at the beginning of it was obviously really important, and I don't think any of us really expected Nebraska to lose the game that they did against Illinois last year, but there we were. And I mean, the momentum thing is so big, and I think, to what you said, it's more important this time around because things need to, I think the focus of this offseason is sort of how things gel. That's across the board with the offensive coaching staff, quarterback, and really their new way of doing business. I just don't see a way that it's hard to envision a way that it ends well without them winning that game. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, I think you're right. There was a time in my life where I thought, okay, yeah, it's just one game, but listen, if they would lose to Northwestern and beat Oklahoma, it would still detract from a win against Oklahoma because you'd still have that loss hanging there. So yeah, it affects virtually every conversation. And we learned last year again, I thought last year was pretty telling, and I did push back on those people that said, yeah, that Illinois game is gigantic, and I'd be like, why is it so big? I mean, if you come back and reel off 5 straight, what's it matter? But it ended up, it mattered. I mean, it did. It was. Now that was a pretty extreme case because Nebraska played so poorly, and the conversation right away got awkward. But I don't know. I'm just, even if they would lose a close game to Northwestern, the conversation is going to be very awkward from the start. So yeah, there's a lot on that game.
So I've been talking about this a little bit this week, and I read it in a breakdown from The Athletic. The idea, and I kind of think this is the biggest question or key, I guess, for me in Nebraska and being able to get this thing to go right away the way they want it. But there was an excerpt. I'll read it to you. So talking about Casey Thompson. Thompson's hardly a perfect player and has issues to iron out, but this feels like potentially a strong fit in Lincoln for Whipple. If Frost can sit back and allow his coordinator to coordinate without interjecting out of panic, because this type of transition could take time and Frost no longer has unlimited amounts to give, this marriage has potential. And I think back and I look at that, and I think that probably about perfectly explains what I would describe as the biggest key to Nebraska's season. Getting that sort of marriage, whatever it looks like, to work and make sense right off the bat.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's a lot of it. I mean, you have these new faces, both coaches and players. They all have to gel. It all has to fall into line quickly. When a football team is operating at a high level, it's a sight to behold, and it's a sight to behold because we all know how difficult it can be to get that going. So, yeah, it'll be quite. It would be. I don't see. This is these conversations get very nuanced. I mean, how could you expect them to be hitting on all cylinders out of the gate? I mean, seldom do teams do that have had coaching staffs in place for multiple years, for several years. I mean, how many teams do come out of the gate smoking? Even the great ones sometimes don't. And even the great ones have hiccups. Alabama had hiccups last year, bad hiccups. So it just feels. It's why I always say, and I don't mind saying it, this all feels like a long shot to me. But long shots come in. I watched the Kentucky Derby. It happens. Long shots come in, and I think this will be I think it's a long shot, but
yeah,
I also, there's no way. You know what though? If you're a fan that's looking for bright sides, I'll tell you the bright side to all this is I think most human beings react most human beings react favorably to their back being against the wall, whatever it is in life. If your back is pushed against the wall, most people respond well. And I think Frost will respond well. Now he's got to get a lot of other people to respond, and that's the trick.
Yeah. And you said hitting on all cylinders early. I don't even know if it has to be that. I mean, they and I hesitate to say, the schedule is light or whatever. And I know people have sort of used that this offseason, but I mean, it's Northwestern, North Dakota, Georgia Southern. I don't know that anybody really would demand a win against Oklahoma. We'll see when we get there. Indiana, Rutgers. Those are the most important games of the season for Nebraska, at least to get off to a good start. I would hesitate to say that you have to be at your A game to beat all of those teams, but then that brings up, where Nebraska is as a team from a talent perspective compared to those, and that's always a mystery kind of as well.
No, and I don't expect them to hit on all cylinders, but they got to hit on enough of them to win the game. So
that's it.
No, I don't think you're going to see. Come on, man, are they going to go from 3-9 to a top 10 team? That'd be really interesting if they did that. But I don't think they'll do that. What's it going to look like? I just want to, it always comes back to this. You just want to see good football, and that's in the eye of the beholder. It's a subjective discussion. To me, you know what would be good? I'll tell you what would be good to me. First game, if you're kicking off, you watch a lot of football. When I watch football, I watch closely the kickoff and what that team looks like running down the field. Do they swarm the return man? Are they clearly pumped up? I'll look for that. That's one thing I'd look for. On an opening drive, you don't want to see flags on the opening drive. You don't like at Oklahoma. Those are the sort of things that'll tell you. But it's obviously a more football. I think the reason why we can talk about it all year long is because it's a pretty complex discussion.
No doubt about it.
Hey, whatever it looks like, a 14-point plus win against Northwestern would ease a lot of concerns.
Oh, yeah, that would certainly help things. And maybe, hey, do you think if they start out that way, we'll get to stop talking about Adrian Martinez, or is that going to be a thing all year?
Oh, I think that'll be a thing all year. I do think it'll be a thing all year. It doesn't. I don't know. I was going to say it doesn't have to be awkward, but it has the makings of being very awkward, right? Again, nuanced discussion, and I don't want to suppose a lot about it. I don't want to go into it with a preconceived notions. Let's just see what it looks like. But it's become pretty obvious he's the guy. It's become pretty obvious that he's recovered from his injuries, and now we'll see what he's got. We'll see, and I know this. I mean, he's got an advantage, and he's got Deuce Vaughn behind him. He's got a pretty good offensive line, from what I've heard. I talked to one of the writers that cover him. He doesn't have a lot at the receiver positions, but I think having Deuce Vaughn back there affects the conversation greatly, and what he has up front affects. Let's see though. Let's see how Adrian reacts.
Would you sign up for a K-State Nebraska bowl game right now?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd sign up for virtually any bowl game, but yeah, in terms of intrigue, that'd be great. And I think the principals could handle it. Adrian's he's a very classy individual. Scott and him, I think they've left on good enough terms where it doesn't have to be an awkward situation. So yeah, I think it would be really. I would be all for that.
Well, hey, you've mentioned before how in order for everything to sort of feel safe at the end, that it better be 7, and it may even stray closer to above that number. There is a scenario where Nebraska's. I mean, I don't know, where Nebraska is playing, and it doesn't have to be K-State. It could be any bowl game. But if it is K-State, there's a scenario where there is a ton on the line in that bowl game. I mean, don't you think?
Yeah, there's a scenario, but I think the decision would have been made by then. Yeah, I think the decision will have been made by that. I get it, though. I mean,
you still want to feel good going into the offseason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's always that. But yeah, I don't think the bowl game will affect the decision to retain or not. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to go. It's so hard to say. And we've had the conversation. The hardest conversation to me is a 5 and 6 going into the Iowa game. I just know, I've been a part of these things several times now, and I know that will be awkward and very tense and divisive if it would turn out that way. So I don't know. Let's see how it rolls out. Every time I talk to people, the sense I get is it's going to be. And you've talked about this, Happer. Last season was this way. Every game, it's one of those games. It's one of those seasons where every game feels like the referendum game. And that either fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, that's what we're looking at here. I think it's okay. I feel like we've been through this so many times that I think the fan base has largely gotten used to it.
I think especially in a season that it won't work this way completely, but I think one of the goals in how you sort of judge this season has to be, off of this season in a vacuum because they've changed so much, they've done so much differently, and you want to really get a sense of where it's going rather than include all of the stuff from the last 4 years. So it's a referendum on the program, and you remember the things that happened before, but it's one season, rather than this season plus last year plus the year before that. It's really tied into what's happening in the moment.
I don't know how. Do you really think that? I don't think I looked at it in a vacuum at all. If that were the case, I mean, I guess I would respectfully disagree, because if that were the case, why would there be that much pressure? Why wouldn't we be looking at every game as a referendum? Wouldn't we just be saying, hey, he's revamped everything. Let's give this some time. Let's restart.
Right. It's impossible to do because you can't take away the last 4 years.
Yeah, that's why.
Because
I don't think they're operating in a vacuum. It's just, I just don't think most of the fan base would sign off on a restart. It looks like a restart.
It is, yeah.
But,
I mean, that's
but
what it is, right?
But I don't think it. Yeah, I really understand where you're coming from, but I just don't think you can afford to give him a restart. Kind of like
it's not a restart in the sense that you get time. Like it's a restart, and restart's a bad word for it. It's just this season and how it turns out from a results perspective, not anything else. I mean, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know though. I guess maybe the way to sum it up would be, it's sort of a reset for the program, but not for the head coach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those two, I would make that distinction. So yeah, we'll see. And how all that, I don't know how all that formula comes out. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know this, and I know anybody that would be listening right now, if they're driving through from another state that doesn't follow this on a regular basis, they're probably thinking this is enormously complicated, because this is not a cut and dry, generally not a cut and dry discussion, and I don't think it will be cut and dry, because I don't think any of us are thinking they're going to go 2-10 and then it'll be cut and dry, or they're going to go 11-1 and then it'll be cut and dry. I think we all know where this is headed.
It's going to end in the gray area.
Yeah, it's probably headed right into the gray.
Yep. As it
that
does.
Makes you important, Happer, then, because you can sort of, impact the narrative on every day during the week.
And you can too with your columns on the internet.
Yes.
Talk to you later, Sipple.
Okay, have a good day, guys. Take care.
Steve Sipple from On 3. People do forget that. Weekend predictions. We'll go through some super regionals, how we want the College World Series to look, and the NBA Finals game tonight. Next on 1620 The Zone.
Hold on to your butts.
All right, just a few minutes left here on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Once again, out at Werner Park. We got baseball tonight. We got baseball tomorrow. We got baseball Sunday. Come on out. Enjoy the fun. And the Chasers in some unique jerseys, unique hats. The jerseys will be different tomorrow. The hats will stay the same, but tonight is one of the what if nights. So this is like one of the finalists for what the Storm Chasers were going to be. And they were going to potentially go with the Omahogs. And so they have full get-ups for that. Uniforms, hats, which are all on sale here at the Stormfront Team Store, which is where we're broadcasting from. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Super Regional Baseball update. We have a fun one in Greenville, where East Carolina leads Texas 7-5 in the top of the seventh. That is the one Super Regional game going on right now. Oklahoma, Virginia Tech to start here in just a little bit.
Okay, so they got through. It took them a long time to get through the first inning. They're kind of trucking now.
Yeah, they zoom through the middle innings, but it's still going to be past 2 by the time this game starts.
Oh, yeah.
Or by the time this game ends. Excuse me. All right. Predictions from the weekend. Here's what we have. 4 Friday start Super Regionals. Home teams being East Carolina, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, Texas A&M. 4 Saturday start regionals. Home teams being North Carolina, Southern Miss, Oregon State, and Stanford. All of those teams are top 8 seeds except for 2. All of the aforementioned home teams are top 8 seeds except for 2. North Carolina, Southern Miss, they both get to host because of what happened in other regionals that they get matched up with. So here is the questions that I'm posing to you. 6 of the top 8 seeds in the NCAA baseball tournament are still alive. Those teams are Tennessee, Stanford, Oregon State, Virginia Tech, Texas A&M, and East Carolina. How many of them make it to Omaha? I will set the over-under at 3.5.
I will go over.
Okay.
I see this being a little chalky, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Is it a good number?
A good number?
Is it a good number? Should I have done 4.5?
I think you will see at least 4 for sure of those 6. 4 of the 8 in the College World Series next week.
Okay. Maybe I can bump the number up one. This is just a workshopping.
If you bumped it up to 4.5, I would really.
It would get tricky.
Yeah.
I left a little bit of room for error in there, and that's what I wanted to do. So here are the ones that I'm confident in. I like Tennessee.
Yep.
Obviously. I mean, Notre Dame is going to be tricky, but I do like Tennessee. I'm less sure about Stanford. I like Oregon State. I am less sure about Virginia Tech.
Correct.
I like Texas A&M.
Correct.
And then East Carolina, I think, can go either way.
Yep.
That's where I got the number.
Okay.
That's where I got the 3.5 number. I could easily see all of those teams winning their super regional, but that's where I got the number. Okay. So I'm gonna take the over as well, but I'm right on the edge of 3 or 4. There are 5, and this will go along with the previous question. There are 5 non-top 16 seeds that made their way into super regionals. How many of those will make it to Omaha? Those teams are Notre Dame will have to beat Tennessee, UConn, who will have to beat Stanford, Arkansas, who goes to Chapel Hill, Ole Miss, who is in the battle of the state of Mississippi with Southern Miss.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma, who's out in Blacksburg, Virginia. And their game to start shortly. In order to build a perfect College World Series, I want probably 5 of the top 8 seeds. And I want, maybe there's a blue blood. I think Arkansas would qualify here. Arkansas is, I'll pinpoint them as a blue blood team who has been a little bit down this year, but has really figured it out late in the season, has a legendary coach, familiar face, voice, obviously. Arkansas is one of those teams. How about Ole Miss, who was, like, I believe preseason number 1? I mean, right up there. I mean, they were definitely a favorite to get to Omaha and, have struggled and barely kind of made the NCAA tournament. They find their way into a super regional and probably a winnable one, I suppose, against Southern Miss. They might qualify here as well. And then the only one that would qualify, I think, as a pretty significant underdog would be UConn.
Right.
So I think my perfect College World Series field includes UConn for this weekend because I want the one underdog and the rootable team to be there.
Even though ECU hasn't been here, they're traditionally very good at baseball.
They would be the team if they were to get, I said this earlier, they would be the team if they were to get here that Omaha would sort of wrap their arms around of.
I think so.
I believe, depending on sort of the rest of the field.
Hey, it's your first time here. Come on in. We'll fix you a plate. You beat Texas. We already like you.
Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, UConn would be a fun one here as well. And then Arkansas comes from sort of a different place than what they normally do. But I think people would sort of enjoy them.
Do we like Arkansas?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Do you get a sense of the fan base here in Nebraska?
I think Omaha has always liked Arkansas. I think the Dave Van Horn connection is big.
Okay. It's not a ooh, you spurned us,
you beat us last year thing. No, I wanted Arkansas. I mean, that was a good team.
Oh yeah.
So no, I don't have any issue with Arkansas.
Okay.
I in fact like them more now.
I didn't really know how. I have a tough time judging the fan base on that particular issue.
I'll set the over under at the non-top 16s to make the field of 8 in Omaha at 1.5. You have to get 2 of those in, and I'll take the under. I just think it's, I think it's sort of unlikely.
I also will take the under. Visually, I have a tough time wrapping my head around that Southern Miss is the ranked team in that super regional.
Yeah. However, I'm looking at my predictions that I did, and it actually looks like I have 2 of them. So never mind. I'm going to take the over.
Okay.
So here's my field. And so if you know me as a betting person, just fade this. East Carolina, who already has a lead in their first game of their super regional. Give me Virginia Tech, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Southern Miss, and Oregon State, and then Arkansas and UConn to take down Stanford.
Okay.
Those are my picks. Those are my CWS. That's my CWS field of 8.
I'll stay under.
Okay. NBA game tonight. NBA Finals. Golden State at Boston, a 4-point favorite. 8:00 on ABC. Does Golden State square things up, or will the Warriors have their backs against the wall headed back home?
I said on Wednesday, this goes back to Golden State tied at 2. I still think that, despite almost literally everyone whose basketball opinion I respect telling me,
yeah,
Boston has figured this out and will win. They are bigger, they are longer than Golden State. The only thing Golden State can do to win is force Boston to turn the ball over 20 times in combination with shooting 45% from 3.
I sort of think this number should be bigger. I kind of wonder why it's not a little bit more than that. Given what's going up against Golden State, you're coming off sort of a weird game. Obviously, the whole Draymond thing. Steph's hurt. Is he not hurt? What's his sort of status?
I think you'll know real quick.
He's playing, but what is he able to give you? He's going to have to be obviously enormous in any game, especially if Golden State wants to win the series. Boston is definitely liable to throw out a clunker.
Yes. Having watched this team, I can confirm.
They are certainly capable. But tonight feels like a blood in the water night. Give me the Celtics.
It should be. It absolutely should be. However, Game 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals should have been a blood in the water game, and Miami, Jimmy Butler,
great example.
Yeah, like literally 2 or 3 weeks ago this happened. Probably 2 weeks ago. 3 seems long.
I think Boston goes back to Golden State up 3-1.
I would love that as a Celtics fan,
but it gets dicey when you try and close out series too. I mean, so give me Boston tonight, but it's more up in the air than you think it is, in my opinion. I think Boston wins the series, but I think it goes deep, maybe 6 or 7.
I think I would like it to go 6 right now. Just Boston wins tonight. It goes back to Golden State 3-1. Golden State wins that home game. Boston comes home, finishes at home. Pour the confetti for banner number 18. There's just so many people saying this is over, and I don't feel that way watching these games.
Not over.
Golden State can go on a run.
But you're taking the Warriors tonight?
I will take the Warriors tonight, yes.
I'll take the Boston Celtics tonight. We will come back. We'll update the polls. We'll tell you what to watch tonight as the Connor Happer Show rounds out from Werner Park next on 1620 The Zone.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
playing Jurassic Park clips to spite me, I think.
I told him to keep going. Hell, he
No,
can
no.
play the
Keep going.
John Williams score underneath this entire final
That's
segment for all I care.
That's
right.
right.
That's
Well,
right.
See, I know.
Will we get our podcast stuff banned if we do that?
You know what? Actually, yeah, probably. So let's not do that. Good producing, Chance.
So that's where that's the movie that the hold on to your butts thing comes from.
Uh-huh.
I've seen that GIF a lot.
And
Yeah,
the
we're-
clever girl comes from that too.
Clever girl.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So maybe I need to watch this movie just for the GIF moments.
Yeah, actually.
That has been one of the things from our podcast. I'll be like Leo DiCaprio pointing at the screen. Oh yeah, that's where this is from.
That's where that comes
It's been
from.
really enlightening, actually. All right, final couple minutes here. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Let's get to the poll questions. I think we had a couple today. I saw them fly up there. How do you like your College World Series? Medium rare. Mostly powerhouse teams, one good underdog, or chaos. I guess that I would go in the one good underdog category.
That's what I voted
It's
on.
sort
as
of
well.
a combo of option 1 and 2, but the one good
Yeah.
underdog probably represents what I'm going for. 47% cannot help themselves, and just because they saw the option that said chaos, they voted for it.
Chaotician, Jeff Goldblum, Jurassic Park.
That's why you can't give them the option, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Say chaos and expect people to not vote for it immediately. What's better, MLB Network or Baseball Tonight? Good poll question. MLB Network is better. 65% agree. Are Bears overrated? No, I already voted on this. No is the answer. 66% agree with that.
Properly rated.
Feels light.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Who thinks Bears are overrated?
got a little closer to the middle than I thought it would.
Bears are cool. Have you ever seen the original Jurassic Park? Ooh, let's see where this one ends up. I'm going to vote no because it is the truth. 86% say that they have.
That also feels low.
It also feels light based on you guys making fun of me for it today. And those are the poll questions. I do not think Bears are overrated, once again, for the record.
Okay, that is important to know because you got to introduce yourself to the Bears.
Because I think the Bears are smart enough where they'll probably listen. They could probably hear this and be like, whoa, you think I'm overrated? I'm going to come get you at the Stormfront team store.
Is there
right now.
Is there a Bears version of Old Takes Exposed?
Oh, they know. It's a community out there. Just watch out. What are we watching?
We're going to watch the NBA Finals tonight. Golden State at Boston, Game 4. Boston up 2-1. 8 o'clock on ABC. Listen to your East Coast elites complain about the start time of tonight's game. God, that is one of the worst sports radio topics in human history. Rangers at Lightning, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6 tomorrow in Tampa. Tampa leads 3-2, 7 o'clock Saturday night, ESPN. A lot of Major League Baseball on this weekend.
How about Tampa Bay? Just storming
Storming
right
back. They were down
Yeah.
0-2.
Yeah.
And they have come back. Speaking of Tampa, the Rays and the Twins are on Apple TV tonight at 7. Mets Angels is your nightcap at 8:30. A's Guardians Saturday 3:10 FS1. Cubs and Yankees Saturday night on Big Fox. You get A's and Guardians
Cubs and
again.
Yankees, that's a series.
Yeah. Your Peacock.
That's Anthony Rizzo Anthony Rizzo going against the Cubs.
Yes.
For the first time.
Yes. A's Guardians is your Peacock game Sunday morning, 10:30. For the people who are used to playing baseball in Oakland, that is an 8:30 a.m. start time according to their body clocks. That'll be interesting.
Love that.
And Mets Angels is Sunday night baseball. You got super regionals all weekend long on the ESPN family of networks.
I bet when ESPN did Angels and Mets, they did not plan on the Angels losing their last 14 games prior to last night.
They did win last night.
Yes.
What were the walk-up songs? Did we have a
Unclear.
report?
Unclear. No,
Okay.
I just saw a picture of Shohei Ohtani and saying basically
He was
we did it.
pitching and hit a donger.
Yep. That's what he does. It's a very, very weird thing how they get into the situations that they're in, how bad they are, because they're very talented.
Yes.
Very good.
A couple things to watch on Netflix this weekend. Dirty Daddy, the Bob Saget tribute show.
Oh.
Bob's friends and family honor the late comedian during a night of laughter and music with Jim Carrey, Chris Rock, Jeff Ross, John Stamos, and more. And the final season premieres all 6 episodes of Peaky Blinders.
Oh, yes.
Which is a show people like.
People have told me to watch that a lot.
4 years after a crushing loss, Prohibition's end turns Tommy towards the opium trade. I don't quite know what all of that means, but people
Tommy,
like it.
not the opium trade.
And in light of new information on this show today, you can stream the original Jurassic Park trilogy on HBO Max.
Oh, I can?
You can.
So I have access to it.
And you should, yes.
Which sort of makes me liable to watch it.
If you're going to Jurassic World at the theaters this weekend, the first 2 are playing pretty much all weekend long in succession on FX.
All right. Josh, that's what we're watching this weekend. I'm fired up for some super regionals. I'm fired up to get our field set for Monday. It's officially College World Series week next week. We're the newbies around here, so we're actually excited for it. The rest of those people at 1620 The Zone have been beaten down by it over time.
Yes.
We love the College World
love
Series.
It. What could possibly go wrong?
Hot take alert. We like the College World Series here on the Connor Happer Show. It's been a fun week. Check it out on the podcast, 1620thezone.com. Chance, thank you.
Thank you, Chance.
We'll talk to you guys on Monday.